Now the ultimate power in the universe.
Sharing the love, spreading the light in real time. Friday night LoveStream.
Very happy to have a guy we instantly resonated with. Unbiased and on the fence. I'm talking about Shane C. Robinson. And his purpose is to rise above the worldviews that are designed to separate us so we can unite as one.
Sometimes you have to sort of take a step back, and I think Unbiased and on the Fence is a really, really good title for your show, because you are in the central point when you're unbiased and on the fence. That's what it means. It doesn't mean you're indecisive. It means you are taking the central point and you're seeing the multiple perspectives.
Unbiased and on the fence.
If you haven't checked Unbiased on the Fence, go and check his channel out. You might like it.
This is Dan Holfeld from Talk is Cheap, and you're listening to Unbiased and on the Fence with Shane Robinson.
If this much sincerity enters your life, come to this much. What I know, I know. What I do not know, I do not know. I don't believe anything, I don't disbelieve anything. I'm willing to look at everything. You will become a sensible human being.
Have you checked out our website?
Visit us on the web at uotf.net. You're listening to the LoveStream.
All around the world in real time.
This is Shane with Unbiased and On the Fence. You're listening to the Friday Night LoveStream.
Your calls, your stories. On air, you're listening to the LoveStream.
Sharing the love and spreading the light all around the world. This is Unbiased and On the Fence.
Unbiased and on the fence.
Indeed it is, and we are we're talking about the Mandela Effect movie. Hopefully you guys had the opportunity to watch it this past week and a half. However long it's been. Let's see, it came out on the 6th. Oh, just about a week, I guess. So, yeah, we want to hear what you guys have to think. I've already got Sherry on the line with me. What is up, Sherry?
Hey, how are y'all doing tonight?
Yeah, so, man, it's, I don't know, just overall, what would you rate it out of 5 stars, Sherry?
Okay, if it's the Mandela Effect movie, maybe like a 3 or a 4, but as a movie, a 5, because it kept my attention and everything. But, I have to rate it separately.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
As far as the Mandela, okay.
Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah, because, I guess it sort of shifted at a certain point, where it was like it seemed like what most of us experience in the very beginning, where, in fact, he even, and I want to do like a spoiler alert for you guys if you haven't seen it and it spoils it for you. It doesn't matter to me. I mean, if I could tune in and not have watched it, and it wouldn't ruin anything for me. I'm just that kind of person. But if you are that kind of person where you don't want to have the movie ruined for you in any way whatsoever, you can still mute it and stay in the chat if you want. But there might be spoilers in the chat as well. I don't really know, but because some people might want to chat about something or bring something up in the chat, but they don't want to actually call in. So I want everyone to feel welcomed. To stick around though if you want. So yeah, I like how you broke that up, because it was sort of like, the first half or so was kind of like what most of us experienced with, just looking things up and just sort of having our mind blown when we see things that have changed. And, and
they did a good job with that.
Yeah, they really did. And even I guess it was one of the main characters next to the main guy in it was, I guess, his brother-in-law, his wife's brother, who was sort of playing the opposing side, which even his wife was too, different aspects of what you sort of see. You know, his wife kind of like saw it and then, you know, kind of got freaked out a little bit by it and said it wasn't helpful to, you know, spend your time looking into stuff like that. But she clearly saw it. Even the main character, her brother, the main, I guess, antagonist of the story, the sort of the guy there that's saying all the things, you know, misremembering, confabulation, this point of view where it's you know, memories are unreliable and people are all misremembering the same thing. I was glad they had those two specific characters right next to the main guy that was going through it, because I think, you know, we all have people like that in our life, and they did a good job with that. They did a good job with bringing out quite a few Mandela effects, and I would have liked to seen more, but, you know, there's only so much they can do in there. And then on top of that, they do have to wrap it up some kind of way. I would have wrapped it up in a different way instead of going into simulation, but they did mention some of the other things, you know, like time travel, just briefly, but they sort of got stuck on the whole simulated reality idea, which is cool, you know, that tied it in with a D-Wave computer, or not D-Wave, but quantum computers. And overall, I thought it was cool.
And to end it, they got to kind of pick a theory, I guess, to wrap it up, you know?
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about it.
Guess they could have left everybody hanging, like we've been hanging.
Yeah, they had to kind of come up with a conclusion.
Yeah, at least it gave like exposure to it and everything, you know.
Yeah, and that's why I would rate it 5 stars across the board, because they did a good job with making it a solid movie that people can enjoy, and then they used actual Mandela effects. I think that's cool, because if somebody's just watching it thinking it's just any other movie, maybe they stumble across it, they're going to look into it and say, wait a minute, it is the Berenstain Bears now, which was a trip, you know. I just, you know, and Curious George having a tell, and I don't know. I kind of like the way they did it, though.
I liked how they incorporated Curious George thing, too, you know. Kind of neat. Gave it a little surprise at the end, you know.
Right. And I was kind of surprised they used the actual footage from a lot of the videos that I came across in the beginning. You know, like the guy talking about, I can't remember any of the names, but the guy talking about programming code was found at the very fabric of reality, and he's trying to figure out if we're living in a matrix. And then I like the fictional character they brought into it. I thought all that was really neat.
Yeah, it was funny because we've all seen all of those videos and stuff. And like everybody pointed out, I'm pretty sure that I heard Moneybags with like a little bit of an altered voice, but he wasn't even sure from what I understand. He thought maybe it was him, but...
Yeah, I think it was for sure him. I didn't... Yeah, I'm thinking it was him. I don't know, but I don't think I've seen that video that they used, because he's got quite a few videos out there.
Yeah, there's so much I don't know, like stuff that lately has, I mean, I guess I've been putting a little more focus on the stuff about, it does seem like everyone just discovers it on like an equinox or a solstice, you know, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're either like September or like
March,
April, or September, October. So yeah. I think that's very, very interesting and telling.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah, that's what.
Considering that.
Yeah, Guy Fawkes had mentioned seeing it in September, and you saw it in September, didn't you?
Yeah, it's September of 2015.
2015. Wow, you've been at this a while, huh?
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, it was. I had some scary moments with it until in my gut, I didn't think it was bad, but I was like, what else could this be? You know,
right.
They're trying to change the Bible, and you know how that goes. Because I was like really Baptist and really like, oh my God, and then they did change the Bible, and I was like, you see, I'm right. You know, that's probably all.
Wait a minute,
changed, but
you
know, that's
probably
how it felt for me.
Yeah, you probably created that, Sherry. So you're responsible for the Bible changes. You're going to have people out in front of your house with picket signs. Sherry did this.
I think I told you, though, about that have the Bible that I have that my dad gave me says Jesus with JE apostrophe SUS, the capital SUS.
That's weird.
And none of the other Bibles, I know. But I think it means something along the lines of I am, from what I've been looking at, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty strange that it would only change and that's the King James version. You sent me screenshot or pictures of that.
Right, yeah, it's a King James version, and I have, you know, ours, my mom's, and that's the one that I got of my dad's when he had died, and I was freaking out. It's everywhere where it says Jesus in it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I'd like to know if anyone else has seen that.
Yeah, I'm wondering, do you have that Bible handy to know exactly what version of the King James version?
No, I'm at my mom's tonight. Well, it was the same one as this one, so it's...
See if it's changing that. Look at the, if you can just
no,
glance
it's
in the
not.
Gospels.
This is the other one that I took the pictures from.
That's so weird.
It's the exact same Bible. It's the same print, same year. They got them at the same time. And it's just a King James version, giant print, reference, concordance, Word of Christ in Red Bible.
Wow.
From the South.
So all in all, you know, they
did a good
once
job.
again, people are hopping in here. I want to let you guys know, spoiler alert, if hearing about details of the movie might spoil it for you, you can mute it if you want. So they kind of bring up this idea that reality is a simulation and it can be hacked from within it. Now, early on, I looked at this and I was thinking, and you know, they even kind of verified this for me in the movie, validated my whole thought with, you know, making edits to this reality from within the reality would cause some pretty bizarre things to happen. So that was one of the things that made me realize that whatever was causing these edits had to be caused from outside of this dream world, this reality, this simulation. I like to call it, and I wish I had thought of this word in my presentation, because I said simulation, and I think, you know, people get the idea of just like a game or something, which I think a game is apt, but like run by a computer somewhere. And I feel like it's consciousness driven. So I feel like simulation is a good archetype for it, but all in all, I feel like it's just some type of illusion, Maya, as they say. So, yeah, but I figured out early on that if you were in it making edits, you would be experiencing the alterations as well, and the anomalies would, I don't know, work on your head after a while, I would think. So it seemed like whatever, and the fact that it's timeless, that changes whenever they make a change, it changes it throughout all of history and makes it appear that it was always that way, leads me to believe that whatever is causing the edits, whatever's causing the Mandela effect, has to be done from outside of our reality. What do you think about that,
It could be like, well, yeah, I like to bring up the macrocosm, microcosm thing, because, you know, even if you have a computer and the way that is, or you have like the body and you have like the veins and they go to the heart, and on the United States you have like the roads and and then the earth you have like the oil. I'm saying like for the veins or whatever.
Right.
And then so I'm just saying, like, if it would be something outside like what you're saying, it could just be that it's like, you know, just smaller, like those nesting doll things, you know.
Exactly. Yeah, like the Russian nesting dolls or whatever they call them. The Russian, yeah, where one's inside of another, like a onion skin. Which is like, that's why I brought up, that was one of the points I brought up with the Never-Ending Story, is that you've got, you know, 3 layers of the onion skin within that movie, and I felt like it was sort of pointing that out, that changes in one dream world could be created by one that's outside of that one or at a higher level. So like the book, the kid that was reading the book was able to make changes to the story within the book, but he wasn't actually in the story until the very end. He hopped in it, but you know, the whole movie, he's outside of the story, kind of just peering into it. and was able to make changes in that world and that story he was reading from outside of it, from a different level.
Yeah, it's so great how you can, like, you know, get, well, I mean, it helps me a lot, I guess, to understand a lot of, like, truth, some of those movies like that, because they do let a little, I mean, I'm sure that they don't always say everything, but, you know, you can learn a lot from stuff like that, because, I mean, that really helps me, especially your videos with it, how it explained it and everything, the right brain and left brain and all of that, because I'd already been looking at some of that, so, and I had seen Jill, what's her name, Stroke of Insight video and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
With the Mineral Institute. It just, it was really neat. It kind of, your video kind of like put it all together for me.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I was really thinking of just the whole idea of, once again, the wheat and the tares, you know, and we hear this all the time, like with predictive programming that you hear, like, well, they got to tell you what they're up to like release the karma, or I think it's more of a balancing thing, you know, and I'm really taken back to that parable from Jesus where, you know, the seeds that were planted were seeds of truth, but then weeds grew up with them and they've been allowed to grow with them. And now, so you've got weeds and wheat together, or the wheat and the tares. And this whole Mandela effect is the thinning of the veil, or the lies are being exposed and we're beginning to see stuff. So there's no fruit in Fruit Loops. Dolly didn't really need braces on her teeth. They were perfect underneath, you know, and I think time after time we're seeing these truths being exposed. What was the one that, let's see, it was Kimberly Lynn Hansen in her artwork pointed out a really cool truth. What was it? Magic? Was it?
She had Magic Mirror. She had the Berenstein Bears. She had Interview with a Vampire, and
she had Darth Vader.
Luke, I Am Your Father. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember all of them. That was so cool, though.
Yeah, it really
awesome.
was.
I can't wait for everybody has to watch that.
Yeah, and the one, and I haven't ever, I might have mentioned on the channel a few times, but it wasn't in my presentation or in the other ones, and because Berenstain wasn't a Mandela effect for me, other than the fact that it exists, because I didn't even know it existed. But it went from Berenstein to Berenstain, or Berenstain, and I felt like it was, you know, talking about like we're bare and stained, you know, we're bare and stained as a people, sort of, you know, a revelation of truth within that.
And then just to, you know, just say what else was out there, what I was kind of vibing with at the beginning that I had heard out in the, you know, world of YouTube was that, you know, sign, or the EIN thing was like a Jewish thing, and that they were like putting a stain on it, you know, because it's like there's always a negative counterpart or whatever to it. And so what was so weird for me was how Kimberly had said, like, now no children will ever have a, you know, wonder if EI is ein or een. And just saying, not to tell the whole story, but yeah, that was the whole experience that I had whenever I was, you know, exposed to it so well, that made such a imprinted memory in my head, was that exact situation, what she had said. So that was really so cool when she said that.
And it kind of annoyed me that they, in the movie, not, you know, it's just a detail, but they didn't pronounce it Berenstein, they pronounced it Berenstein. And anybody who's seen the video, Dolly Parton singing the song sings the Berenstein, well, originally. I guess there's no way I can prove that now. Yeah, I just found that out the other day. You know, I was talking to my wife about it. I was like, I didn't know anything about that. And she goes, you don't remember the song with Dolly Parton? And she played it, and the Berenstain Bears. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's so weird. But she remembered the Berenstein Bears.
I could hear her doing it. But I sure didn't hear that. I'll have to try to look that one up.
No, I hadn't even heard that song before. I was like, no, they're brand new to me, because she couldn't believe that I'd never heard of them before. She's like, the kids used to watch it, and, you know, I don't think we had any of the books, but she said they definitely watched it, and brand new to me, guys. And it was for Suso, too. Suso hadn't heard of them either.
It's so funny, though, because, like, yeah, that thinker thing that was, I had never heard of that.
Really?
But I guess I'm just more into color books and
Well,
great art. I'm trying to expand my horizons, though. Hey.
well, that's the funny thing,
But that is art too.
Yeah, but I go to this. It was a garage sale. I go with it to it with my mom, and she's like, pick something out, And I don't remember what my choices were, but for me to walk out of there with this naked guy sitting there on a stump thinking is, they must not have had much. But it was an elderly lady. She probably just had a bunch of knickknacks and stuff like that, and I don't know. I probably just settled on that. But now knowing how everything is so orchestrated and planned out, now I completely see why I got that, because it was such a huge part of my life. Now it was a huge part of me awakening to the Mandela effect. It took me a whole year to see that it was really happening, or to be convinced, and it was in large part due to Isaiah 11:6, the lion and the lamb. I knew that for sure. That's like, if you drive by, I've used that example. If you drive by like landmarks and you're used to seeing a landmark, when you're reading the Bible and you come across that scripture, you're like, oh, there's the lion and the lamb scripture. You know what I mean? And it's not that way anymore. Now it's the wolf and the lamb, Isaiah 11:6. So,
yeah, and I think that gives precedence to what you were saying about. Oh no, I lost what I was going to say. It was so good.
But I wanted to say, yeah,
it'll come back to me.
It was good that there was that dispute between, I meant to go back to this and I didn't, the Stein and the Steen for you as a child. I mean, that conversation would have never happened if it had been Stein. I mean, if it was Berenstain.
That's what I was going to say, though. It gives, like, precedence to what you were saying about the fact that it was, like, such a big memory for you or whatever.
Yeah. That's
funny because I just think that probably everybody, the first one for him is kind of like a really big deal. Like, was it was Lauren that had the Joel Osteen one. That was like so big for her. That was like her biggest one, like the pivotal moment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, everybody has
so
their big
one. There's always
one.
some great big, yeah.
Because, and I knew like Looney Tunes and Fruit Loops had changed, but you talk yourself out of it. There's that whole cognitive dissonance thing, but once you get the 100%er that it's beyond a memory. It's like for me, just seeing that statue, it wasn't like I could have forgotten the pose it was in, even if like I was a kid and I came in the room and he had switched to the new way, I would have been like, oh my gosh, what the heck? My statue moved. You know what I mean? I would have known because I had seen it that way for so many years. And then it being in Mr. Wizard's World's opening sequence, seeing it there and then being like, that's my favorite show at the time, whatever. I don't remember what age I was, but I had the statue in my house. So it was like a cool thing, to have a statue from my room in the opening sequence of this show that I liked a bunch. And now even that opening sequence has changed. So it's crazy.
Yeah, it's just so interesting. But overall, I think that they did a great job on the movie. It just seemed kind of like even if they'd have left the Mandela effect stuff out and they were just going with like maybe time travel or something, that's what the whole part with the daughter and all of that stuff, was kind of like. So to me, it was kind of like two movies in one put together, but overall, it was good. Kept my attention anyway.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I noticed that for a lot of people, like Lauren, you mentioned Lauren Canal-Pavelka, who spoke at the conference. She was having, these life events happening with her health, and then this other stuff happened, so, and she even felt like she had near-death experiences and things like that. Of course, Suso's story with being impelled and then not being killed and, jumping timelines or however he explains it. A lot of people do have these traumatic events happen. And in the movie, they brought this out where the couple's daughter dies, like within the first few minutes of the movie. And, they're dealing with that. And then he begins to notice these changes in reality and then looks into it. And that's where the whole thing starts. So there's a few points where he feels like he's going crazy, which I know a lot of people might feel like it was a bad thing for them to put that in there and try to make people feel crazy or look crazy. But, you know, how many of us didn't wonder if we were going crazy at first? Because when you see impossible or seemingly impossible things happen and you're a sane person, you would be insane not to question your own sanity, wouldn't you? I mean, you see these things happening that seem impossible, and, you know, it's something we've all thought. I went down the whole gamut of things, you know. Did I die? Am I losing my mind? You know, is this an alternate reality? Did I get moved from Sagittarius arm to the Orion arm? All of these things, you know, and it's I don't know, it's just part of the awakening to this whole thing happening, to question whether you're losing your mind or not.
For me, it was so funny because when I saw that the little girl had died, what came to my mind was Pet Cemetery. I'm like, this dude's going to try to go back in time and bring her back. It was like, I just knew. And then, you know how that goes. That never goes well. You know, you have to have something bad happen with that. You know, it can't just be perfect. Or it can be if you like Kimberly and you can just write it like that. I think that's what we're all supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the way Kimberly Lynn Hansen really approaches this whole thing. You know, she's like, she notices a change. She's like, cool. You know, I do want to welcome anyone that wants to join in on the conversation. Hop in here. We'll talk about the what you thought about the Mandela Effect movie, and yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Hey, Marfugel, what is up? So, yeah, just we're talking about the Mandela Effect movie. We're just sort of giving our 2 cents about what we thought about it. So if anybody wants to join with me and Sherry discussing it, the number is on the screen, or you can join from your computer. Just go to the link in the description box below. If you can't pull it up for some reason, it is talkshoe.com/show/LoveStream. And then just raise your hand and let me know that you want to talk.
I have to say, I still think that movie yesterday was like totally a Mandela Effect movie. You know, I mean, for me it was. So.
Oh, the movie yesterday? Oh, totally.
But then there's been lots of movies kind of like that. You know, the people go in a coma or they do something and they wake up and they're in this whole different. Like, Isn't It Romantic? So something like she falls off of a treadmill and bonks her head and then wakes up in a romantic comedy or something.
Right.
I haven't seen it, but I intend to.
Yeah, somebody can chime in with the name of that.
Same deal.
Yeah, it was Sandra Bullock, wasn't it?
Which one?
The one where the guy wakes up and I can't remember. It was a.
Oh yeah. No, I know what you're talking about.
Is that not the movie you were talking about?
Oh. No, it's a newer one that I didn't get to go see yet.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I didn't get to see it, but I'm gonna watch it one day. It's got that girl in it that's really heavy. There's a blonde one that like, she's hilarious. Oh my God.
I know who you're talking about. I can't think of her name either.
Yeah, she was in like, what was it? Something about weddings. I don't know. I'm not good at remembering movie titles and stuff.
What's up, Marv? He says, okay, what is Sally's now? Now it's Sally Beauty Supply. It's no longer Sally's Beauty Supply. Is that the one you're asking about? I'm trying to see if...
That's so weird. Darby, that one gets her.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I went to it was like a health food store, and I went in there. I asked if they had something. They were like, "Oh no, but you might check next door at Sally's Beauty Supply." And I was like, "Man, it just comes up so much. I wanted to say something, but I didn't." You know.
And it's so hard to not point it out to everybody and stuff. And you know, I think it's important to bring up also, like the personal ones that people have, because I know that sync thing with us it still blows my mind. I think it's awesome, and I've gotten more revelations from it as time went on. But it's crazy when you have something happen, you know, that's personal, like that other people don't see, that's not mainstream or whatever.
Yeah, and that's the one I thought would get my sister, was Sally's Beauty Supply. You know, after she was like, I thought for sure, you know, I'm calling her up. She goes, "It's always been Sally Beauty Supply." I'm like, what? All the times I sat outside, I'd take her up there and have to sit out there while she's like looking at earrings and other stuff in there, and she was taking forever. There's just no doubt in my mind it was Sally's Beauty Supply. Somebody, let's see, Travis said Premonition. Is that the name of the movie? Maybe?
Yeah, that's the one with Sandra Bullock. I saw that. It's like a car wreck, and then it keeps happening over and over in it.
Oh, like a sort of a Groundhog's Day sort of thing?
Hey, Travis, I miss you.
Yeah,
I
shout
have
out
to
to
go
Travis.
visit him. He's only 3 hours from me now.
Travis?
It's Travis. No. Travis?
No, he moved to, he just sent me some pictures. He's in Loveland. He's up there in beautiful Loveland, Colorado. Hope it's not a secret, because I just blew that out. But he sent me these beautiful pictures from up there. Yeah. We actually went through Loveland.
You never know.
Right? It was right at that.
We did.
Right on the way to your
I love
brother's.
that it's called Loveland. That's awesome. Loveland.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, that's cool.
It was snowing when we went through there. That was crazy. When I rented that car, they were telling me they did not have 4-wheel drive vehicles in Louisiana because no one here needs them because there's no snow. And I'm like, but most people take them to drive places, so you'd think. But anyway, they ended up, I got the only one in like a 90-mile radius of where we were, so that was meant to be. But we didn't, we didn't need it that bad, kind of, but.
I think Mark's talking about Sally. I'm for sure, I'm a 100% on the whole Sally's Beauty Supply thing, but I kind of thought it connected with Sally Fields. It's like, because it used to, now it's Sally Field, and I remember it being Sally Fields. And of course, there's that Mandela effect with her. You love me now, or you like me now. You really, wait, what is it?
Yeah, you love me. You really, really love me, it used to say.
Yeah, but now it's like, you love me now, you really love me, or something like that. That wasn't one for me, so I can't really remember that one. But I found it interesting that she had a Mandela effect. She's got like a brother that works at CERN, or a brother-in-law, or somebody that's related to her that works at CERN. But she was also Forrest Gump's mom, and, of course, everybody remembers, or most people remember, life is like a box of chocolates, or life was like a box of chocolates. It is currently, but people remember life is like a box of chocolates, and so there's that connection there. So I love finding these connections between them all. Sally Fields, now Sally Field, and that connects us to the Field of Dreams, which had the, if you build it, he will come. If you build it, they will come. Change. Mm-hmm. For me, though, it said, if you build it, he will come in the beginning, and then the guy came, and then at the end it switched to, if you build it, they will come. So for me, that's really strange, but I remembered it being both ways. I was like, no, and people said it was a Mandela effect. I'm like, no, in the beginning it says he, and then at the end it says they, and they're like, no, not for me. So
that's what E.T. was like that for me.
Yeah, like I remember the E.T. one.
Anyway.
Yeah, I remember the E.T. one just like it is right now, like where he messes it up and they correct him, and that's not a Mandela effect for me. But in that movie, you have James Earl Jones in Field of Dreams, and he's also the voice of Darth Vader, which, of course, you have that connection. So there's all these connections between them. And, once you get on Forrest Gump or Tom Hanks, he's in like at least 3 of them or 4 of them, right?
Right, yeah. There's a snake in my boot.
Yeah, there's a snake in my boots. Yeah, and you can find it both ways on that one, depending on which one you watch. And then the other one was Houston, we have a problem, or Houston, we've had a problem. And that was my first flip-flop. I looked at it when it had changed, and then it changed back. I was like, what? So let me think of which ones can you remember from the movie? Sherry, I remember that reminded me of the Flintstones. They did the Flintstones, they did the Berenstain Bears, they
Curious George.
Yep, Curious George Tell. There's another one where they showed this. Oh yeah, the Monocle and the Monopoly Man. That was a good one.
You could tell they drew it on that game.
Yeah, it didn't look it didn't look right to me.
Somebody did it. They did a good job, though.
They need to make it a little bit bigger, but oh well. Yeah, I think they did it with a Sharpie. It was
Yeah,
probably
oh,
like,
for
oh, it's
sure.
too small, but I'm not running out and buying another game, so we're gonna roll with it.
Yeah. We'll just go with that. So,
And then,
that's funny.
the Luke, I Am Your Father. They covered that one.
Yeah. Yeah, you can kind of tell. I think they said that they wrote this back in like 2016. It was like all of them that were really big right then, you know. It'd have been neat if they had some more current ones in there too, or maybe touched on the music. But with the plot being what it was kind of hard to, like, you know, show them jamming out or something. It was kind of sad, you know.
Yeah, that's true. The swastika was another one they showed in the background, and you know, for me, it seemed like somebody had put out a video or had flipped an image, had mirrored it, and then said the swastika had switched, but it really hadn't. Or maybe it flip flopped, and I caught it after the flip flop, and then it switched back. I'm not really sure. That just wasn't one for me. But they did have it on the. I noticed it on the TV in the background.
Wasn't it Eileen or something saying that one way was positive and one was negative or whatever? But I don't know. It seems it meant something different. It was drawn another way. I can't tell the difference when I see it. I don't, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
to
I
me
know
it
what
was,
it is when I look at it, but either way you put it.
Yeah, to me it was to the right. You know, the little legs go to the right.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. Maybe that has something to do with the brain too. You never know.
That's a good point.
But I want to say that I have to say this really quick. Every time you tell that story about your sister with salads, I laugh because I can't tell you how many times we left Devin in the car and went in there. He'd be like, "Oh my God." Wyatt does that though. When Caleb pulls up in Hobby Lobby, he's just like, "Oh my God, here we go." So funny.
So now you
they
know.
dread it.
If it changes to Lobby Hobby, Kayla's not going to notice, but Wyatt will.
Yep. So he was so funny. Look, you know, bringing that up, Wyatt was the first person that I saw. Now, he was 6 when this happened. The Laurel Yanni thing, he was hearing something totally different, like Yandy or something like that. And I was like, "You mean Yanni?" And he's like, "No, it's saying Yandy." And he was hearing the same thing every time, and it was totally different than what other ones were seeing.
Yeah, that's the one.
The 2 examples.
That's the one that I hear it as Yeri. Yeri.
Oh, that's what he was saying. That's what he was saying.
Oh, it is? That's what I hear. I'm like, I don't hear Yanni or Laurel. What are you guys talking about? Now, I have adjusted the treble and stuff, or I think listened to it on a phone, and I can hear Laurel a little bit. But for me, it's just Yeri. I never heard Yanni.
To me, those things are put out there just another thing to try to make us look like we're mishearing things, whatever. Now, I agree that there are some, just like that one that I found that no one knows the song of, Love of a Lifetime by Firehouse, and it says, "I guess the time is right for us to say." And the whole song is like in the present tense, and then it says, "I guess the time was right for us to say." But later on, I noticed whatever you try to hear, you'll hear that, but they are not all like that. And I feel like that's what those little things are kind of trying to do. That one, the new one Moneybags put out, that has like 3 totally different lines of a song that are all totally different. That's crazy.
Yeah, I love that Moneybags video where he's showing how people were hearing it different ways. Another one that I had comments on it was the change to what's the Dream one again? What is it called? California Dreamin'. I had people, I was talking about it, and they swear it still says, got down on my knees and began to pray. I'm like, I can't hear began. I mean, it's pretend is so, the T in it is so dominant that I don't see how it can sound like began to someone. Even the background singers,
Yeah, I had said a lot. It seems like a lot of these Mandela effects are like targeted at like our age group. But and like our music, like Don't Stop Believing and all that stuff. Well, I mean, you're a lot younger than me, but
Oh, the Journey one.
Yeah.
The Journey
But,
one hasn't
like,
changed for me.
Susan, it what?
It hasn't
It
changed for
hasn't?
me. No. I still hear
Oh,
it.
yes, it has.
I hear
You
it
need
the
to go
old way.
re-listen.
No,
Oh,
I hear
you
it.
need to go re-listen.
I try to make
You're gonna
myself
make me
hear
pull
it.
this up, Marty. I gotta tell. I have some real quick though to finish that. I was gonna say Susan, my friend, is like 10 years older than me, so she was all into like this 70s music and these songs I'd never heard of, and she started pulling them up, and she was finding Mandela effect after Mandela effect. I was gonna try to write them all down to show you but I don't have anything to really compare it to because I don't know the songs. You know, you have to like know them.
That's how it was with the
But
Michael
she had
Bolton
a
video I did. I just, because I know, I've got other ones that, like, I love Tori Amos, but, most people aren't familiar with her music. And if they are, it's the radio ones. And I've heard, like, her breathing is different on different parts and stuff. Just really minor things that I've noticed. It seems like it's a different recording, maybe, on part of it. Like, you just...
Music just sounds weird, though, lately. There's some...
There was even a Heart song that I noticed the bass line was different. I'm like, he's hitting a different bass note, and it sounds so wrong to me now. I mean, it still works. It's not an off note, but it wasn't the same note it was before, and it just kind of annoyed me a little bit. But, you can't really bring that up because people will be like, oh, what note do you think? It's just one of those things that you just have to notice and not really say anything about because you can't really prove it, or most people don't pick out the sound of a note. They'll be like, why are you making a big deal about it? It's just the fact that it changed, and I noticed the change.
I just noticed, like, what I was listening to Warren and the song I Saw Red, it was like now the guitar is so dominant in it. It just actually reminds me of a whole different song, and it's distracting. Like, it's that obvious of a change, and a lot of songs have like slowed down or sped up for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's really weird. Now this is just all of a sudden, actually, in the last couple of weeks, I guess.
Hey, everybody in the chat. I wanted to encourage you to call in. You can call in from the number that's on the screen if you're in America. We have international numbers down in the description box below, or you can just join from the computer by going to talkshoe.com/show/LoveStream and join in that way. And you can join Sherry and I here on the conversation about the Mandela Effect movie and Mandela effects in general. Maybe you want to share what your big one was. One thing I noticed about the changes, like your daughter always points out the merging letters, and I've seen a lot of that going on, or extending letters. She's really good about noticing that sort of thing. If it's really obvious, I'll notice it. I noticed the T chopped off of the Walmart logo off of one side. That was real obvious to me. But it seems like some of the changes, or a lot of the changes, are changed in a way that it's really minor. Like take, for instance, Sex in the City and Sex and the City. Most people don't say it so clearly. They'll just say Sex in the City, and you can't tell which one it is. So once it changed, people don't really say it that much different. Not enough to make it noticeable to the ear. You have to actually see it, written down to notice. I noticed it written down. It like stood out like a sore thumb. To me, Sex and the City and Sex in the City are so different. Even though they sound almost the same when you're speaking it, they're so different. And another one I noticed that it's strange, but I want to point this out because in the song by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Under the Bridge, when he says City of Angel, he breathes in right after that. So he says, City of Angel. Well, his breathing in makes it sound like the S is on there still. So people don't notice it. It's so gentle. You know what I'm saying?
At all. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying if you're not listening for it, though. If you're not listening for it,
yeah,
it can make you not notice it,
Right, yeah, definitely. Another thing about music, interesting, that Don't Stop Believing song, I had found a YouTube video where they had SpongeBob SquarePants. Like, they put, like, it looked like they replaced the song from the cartoon, put that song, and it looks like he's performing it in a concert. And it's so weird because right when the Mandela effect happens on that first little, verse or whatever, they show Squidward with his eyes all open like he's freaked out, like right at the second of the change. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, you must have sent me that. I saw that.
I love that. And I play it all the time. Show people. That's crazy.
That's so funny. I can't ever remember who sends me stuff, but you just mentioning it, I'm like, oh, you sent me that way back in the day. Yeah.
I'm always harassing you, sending you things.
Well, no, I appreciate it. In fact, most of the stuff I get, most of my awareness is from people sending me stuff. So, yeah, I don't mind at all. I appreciate people keeping me up because I can't really watch. People will send me videos and they'll say, just look at timestamp, whatever, and I appreciate that because I don't really have time to watch. I know people are like that with my videos. They don't have time to spend watching a 2-3 hour video. So, just giving them a timestamp of something that's interesting or something is helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, though, about that, the merging and extending of letters. If y'all pay attention to, like DVD covers and stuff a lot, that you can find a lot on there. Because we had just found one of our favorite movies is A Cinderella Story by Hilary Duff in it, but it actually used to be called Cinderella Story. Now there's an A on it, and the T from story is like merged all the way up into the other word, and then even the actors' names at the top are starting to merge, and the letters look weird because they're not spaced out evenly, and the R's are getting that little hook on them. It's really weird, and a lot of times they hook to an A, which spells raw, and then you'll have the T thing chopped. There's definitely some kind of pattern in it, though. Like the R's are affected a lot, and the T's, S's. I don't know how to explain it. The font on stuff is changing. It just gets dark because I don't notice it. It's her. She'll tell me, and then I notice it. But she gets tripping out about it, and she's not scared. She's just like, "What is going on? This is nuts,"
Yeah. Yeah, it is bizarre. I've noticed it with the R too. It seems like when there's an R and an A, I think it was that it seems like they really merged together.
Yeah. I know what else I was going to say back when you were talking about Sex in the City. How many people really, truly, really think about it when you heard the title of that, which it was so popular, it was all over the place. When I look back, I had some kind of a weird about it when it was, before it was even affected. I'm talking about when I just first heard of it. Because you're like, that's a weird title. There's just something strange about it. Like, are they in the city and the city? Neither one of them really makes a lot of sense. There's so many things like that with certain Mandela effects where I'm like, I remember when I first heard that, it was like almost like a little, sensor went off in me to say something, but this is going to come up later. So I don't know. Do you know what I mean or no?
Yeah. I remember thinking, just when I first remembered seeing the title, Sex in the City, I remember thinking they named it that way just to get people's attention. And of course it got my attention, but I never watched the show at all. But I remember the media was just so saturated with stuff about it. I mean, you couldn't go to the grocery store without there being... Yeah, so I know I've seen it so many, and that's really all I know of it from is not really even talking to any. I know my best friend at the time watched it, and that was another thing. I'm like, Sex in the City changed to Sex and the City, and he goes, it's always been Sex in the City. So, and it almost sounded like I said Sex in the City, didn't it? Sex and the City.
Another thing that happened to me similar to that was with I still don't remember exactly what it is. It's We're the Millers or whatever. Is I was running around saying Meet the Millers, but I felt funny about it, and like I would go to tell people, and I was like, Meet the Miller, like struggling to get one out, and then it was later when the Mandela effect came out where I was just like, I had a little sensor on that one too that something was gonna happen.
Yeah, it's almost that dual memory thing that people experience. Like, and that's happened on so many of Moneybag 73's videos. Is that he would present it, and then I would already know what my choices were. You know, oh, it's going to be this or it's going to be this. And some of the songs, like I thought, well, you know, the first time around in the chorus he sang, it was kind of like the whole Field of Dreams thing. You know, I thought first chorus he sang it this way, second chorus he sang it this way. And, you know, that's how my brain, I guess, rationalized me remembering two different ways.
Yeah, and that makes me want to bring up again. I know I say this all the time. People are probably like, "Oh, she already said that," but it's the fact that it really gets me how, like, I was at work one time and they have a Grammys award on or something. So then the Bee Gees are performing a song that I later find out has a Mandela effect. It's like they bring these things like to the forefront, almost like they're trying to put them right there for you to see it. Like something will come up. Just, okay, for instance, whenever, I think we had talked about this, when Joel Osteen, when everybody was noticing that change, it had came up that they'd had that flood, and people were complaining he wouldn't let people in his big old church, and then he got a bunch of mattresses or something. My point is, it gets brought up in the media or something to, like, bring attention to it, to try to make people notice or something. It's interesting.
That worked with me. That's when I noticed his name had changed. And I knew for sure it had been Olstein. And now it was Osteen. I'm like, no way. No way. I know it was Joel Olstein, you know? Man.
Oh, yeah, I'm like 100% on that, too. I don't even know why. They say Joyce Myers changed, too, that it was like, I'm not exactly sure of the whole change with her, but that's another big, you know, preacher person that had a change with their last name. I don't know if it's like the mayor thing or what, but...
Yeah, and for me, I knew her quite well. Excuse me. She actually came from the church I went to in St. Louis. So I don't know if it's just that I'm too close to her, but I'm like, I don't know. I can't, you know. Okay, let me see. It is currently Joyce Meyer. Yeah, to me it does seem like it used to have an S, but, you know, I can't put it in my 100%
that's
category.
Probably what, I think that's what it was, yeah.
Joyce Meyer. I think it was Joyce Myers. That seems funny, Joyce Meyer. That's kind of like Sally Field. Sounds funny to me without the S.
Let's not forget the buzz falling off all the bands, like the Eagles, the Monroe, the Ramones.
No, that's a crazy one.
Just Bee Gees.
Yeah, the Ramones. That sounds funny if you just say Ramones.
Yeah, but I think it's like that, isn't it? Or is it?
Yeah, it's like that now. But, you know, let's see. Yeah, like if you look up the Eagles, let's see.
I'm having to look up the Bee Gees right now because I'm tripping.
Yeah, you look at their album art now, and it just says Eagles.
Let's see the Bee Gees real quick. Just for fun. Oh, my gosh. The Bee Gees is now just Bee Gees.
It is?
Yep.
Yeah.
See, it sure is.
Ramones.
That looks so weird. I don't know. That's so weird.
Yep, the Ramones is just Ramones, no the. That's strange.
I mean, well, can you think of any more that are that we haven't checked to look at? Because that's weird.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, you got Home Depot
you
got the added.
Like the Oak Ridge Boys. Let me tell my mom likes them. Let me check.
You say your mom likes them?
Oh, she loves them. Yeah. Okay, it still has a the.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that one. So
the Statler Brothers. I just would love to show her that. That's why I'm checking. I'm being bad.
Boys. They're the ones that boppa, mow, mow.
Yeah, I hate that song. I'm so sorry. I'm so mean.
I liked it as a kid just because I like the deep guy's voice.
Yeah, a lot of kids, sing
but
that.
I'm not a country fan.
Right now, all the kids are singing that Old Town Road song. It's like rap and country together. Even the music genres are merging.
But, you know, that kind of gets into, you know, how I was explaining how I feel like, you know, you've got that's the definite article. You know, if you say I'm going to home, you know, we'd always say I'm going to Home Depot. I'm going to the Home Depot makes it sound like as if there's just one Home Depot. There's only one. I'm going to the Home Depot. And I think that kind of gets into this whole merging, the letters merging and becoming one. Expanding consciousness, I feel like is what that's saying. The merging is becoming one or unified, Christ consciousness, this sort of idea. And when you say the, that's sort of pointing to oneness in a way, you know?
Right. Yeah. I don't know if it's Mandela effect. I guess we could say it's for a different video, that holiday thing, huh? That's so weird. That's kind of like an emerging too.
Yep, the Partridge Family is still the Partridge Family.
What about the Brady Bunch?
The Brady Bunch. Oh, if that's changed, I'll definitely, because I can see it in my head on that one. The Brady Bunch. Let me see the logo.
Yeah, just to say real short though, to me, even like the holidays are like merging together, because I went to a concert for a band that had an album called Secret Valentine, and then they had a Christmas song on the album. I don't know how to explain it, but I think that it's all just pointing at like oneness, you know, but, and then like, and being like in the now, like every day is a holiday, because, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I don't get it. That's a whole different subject. No.
But holy,
for me, it's not, but.
Yeah, holiday comes from holy day, which holy means set apart. So it's like you're setting apart this single day to celebrate or, you know, signify something. So, yeah, the fact that they're all merging together, that would make sense. That every day is set apart.
And I think that, right, and like I was really shown that, like, just when we went to, you know, ESETI, I had like my dad's death date was the 8th, and then the next day was this little Cajun saint girl that is in our area that I'm real connected with or whatever, that passed away on that day. Then there was Janie Lane's death date on those, and then when we were going to,
and then Angela's son as well, his birthday was
right, Christopher. That was the other one out of those.
Yeah,
four,
Lionsgate,
right.
8/8.
And it's crazy. And then on to the Mandela Effect conference. That was the day that it was my brother's birthday actually, that died when he was 4.
When we got
and then that was
that
cool.
Mandela Effect with that song from Elton John. For anybody who didn't hear about that, tell them about that really fast. That song Daniel.
Okay, well, yeah, it was his birthday, and he died when he was 4, and I was 2 at the time. And it's just weird because I always listen to that song. It's always reminded me of him since I was little. It's a song from like the 70s, and I always listen to it on his birthday. And I believe I had listened to it a couple of times that day, but then right when we were like rolling up, you know, into
Idaho, yep.
Basically. It had changed to saying, and it said, Daniel, you're a star in the face of the sky, and it clearly said faith. And that was amazing, you know? But
yeah, you can hear it clearly.
That was a sign that every day is a holy day, not just the holidays, and I've just really seen a merging of them in my reality all of a sudden.
Yeah, and then of course, the
11/11.
A lot of people, you know, were getting stuff in, but that's my mom's birthday. So, and then that's funny because remember I did the video about all the synchronicities me and you were getting that day, and how we actually got holiday on the Ghost Radar. Remember?
Right. Yep.
And Michael Jackson.
That's so cool. Yep. Yeah. And it doesn't give out 2 words. It just gives out 1 word. So to say Michael Jackson on one line is like amazing. And to say what that is, it's kind of like, I don't know if anybody watches ghost shows. I do. They have an ovulus that like will say a word. So said the spirit can affect it to make a word. and it doesn't do 2 words. It'll do 1 word and then another word, but not at one time. And it clearly said Michael Jackson, which I had gotten that one time before, but it was like 5 years ago or
2014
something.
or something.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. That was really significant for me. I just have had the most magical things happen. And, you know, I don't know, it's just like the whole universe is just like giving me all kind of signs all the time. It's really cool.
Yeah. So we got...
Like everything's been written.
Yeah, and, you know, talking about being in the now, I found it kind of cool that the movie Yesterday is about a Mandela effect type event that happens. And then you've got Tomorrow, the change in the Little Annie song.
Right.
You're always a day away. You're only a day away. And I know.
Yeah, you know, just interesting to note, I had bought some concert tickets recently, and it pays a certain company, kind of like I don't know, whatever the company is that was selling the tickets, and it was called Ye Old Memories. I was like, what? That's crazy. So it has nothing to do with the band or any music, you know. I don't know. It's just pretty cool. Stuff like that happen all the time, though.
I guess people haven't watched the movie yet. Nobody's calling in to join us with a discussion about what you thought of the Mandela Effect movie.
Who's in the chat room?
Oh, we got all the usuals here. I don't want to start naming people, and then I feel bad because I don't name everybody. You know?
Well, he's not going to name everybody. Just name a couple, and we can get somebody to call in.
Somebody call in.
You're not going to name
do
any, are you?
I'm not.
Oh, come on.
I feel it bothers me for
I can't have my. But they understand. We just did a what you call that? I don't know, an announcement and said you were not going to be able to name everybody.
I know.
Who's in there?
You'd be surprised how much. You're not going to get me off the fence on this one, Sherry.
Now I just want to make you say it. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I really feel bad because then you'll be talking, or whoever will be talking, you know, and I'll notice somebody else. I'm like, I didn't say them, and now, you know. So what's up, everybody in the chat? Everybody lurking that aren't in the chat. We love you all, and please feel free to call in or join in on the website. You can just go in. Okay.
Somebody call in.
Okay, not everybody saw it. You guys can watch it's video on demand, you guys. You can I watched it on Amazon Prime. I mean, you can just go to Amazon, type in the Mandela Effect movie, and it'll pop up. You can rent it for, I want to say $6.99 or buy it for $10.99, something like that. But
I know so. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that it's video on demand, or you can actually look it up, the Mandela Effect movie. You can Google it, and there's an IMDb page, and I think you can click and find a theater near you. I don't like going to theaters, though. So.
It's at the movies?
Yeah, it's actually at select theaters, so you can go and
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I would have much rather watched it with a big tub of popcorn in my lap. That would have been fun.
See, you can just microwave some popcorn or something.
It's just not the same, though. But I know here's something we can talk about this that you might not want to talk about, but I was going to say that how I always bring up that it, like, gets me, it bothers me that it's, like, celebrities' names changing and things like, you know, and, like, products that are, you know, but that's why I like that they have, like, the Rainbow Mountains and stuff. But I have to say, it really helped me when not long ago they were talking about, like, Recall Vector's name changing to, like, a K, or coming from a recall with a K to C. And then, like, the Moneybag 73 thing came up. And, I mean, I knew him as Moneybag 76. I was always saying the wrong thing. And then yours logo, I swear, had an and sign on it that was like mustard colored, like a weird golden brown color, unbiased and on the fence. To me, no offense, but it just looks it looks funny not having it to me because I remember it so well. Plus, it doesn't say "and" on the fence on it anymore. But that's cool. Don't change it because of me. I'm just saying.
No, and for those who, this is what's so interesting because you're not alone with this. I've had several people that remembered the gold "and" in the middle, so it said unbiased and sort of overlapping over the letters a little bit, but overlapping.
Yeah.
And then on the fence, and it was like on that brown bar in between, sort of. And here's the funny thing about it that's so freaking weird to me is that I actually put that in there, and it was gold, and it within Photoshop, I put it in there. I didn't like it. I took it back out, and I don't even have I can't even show you it because I didn't like it, and I didn't render out a JPEG of it. So it was within the program. I don't even have that original Photoshop file, or I think I might have did it in Illustrator. Wherever I did it, though, it was in there. I was the only one that saw it, Unless like one of my kids were in here and I was like, do you like that? And they're like, no. And I'm like, yeah, me neither. And I don't know, somebody in my family might have saw it like in the room, but I never did it, but people remember it. So that's so weird to me.
So speak the truth. The color was not gold. It was like turkey turd tan. It was like a brown mixed
Wait, what's
with
speak the
yellow.
truth?
Am I right? I'm asking you to speak the truth about the gold and that you're saying it was gold. I don't think it was gold. I think it was like
No, well, when I say gold,
brown.
it was athletic gold. And matter of fact, I can tell you exactly how I got the color. I took the color of the top of the fence or the pyramid shape, the droopy pyramid shape. I took that, and everybody knows brown is dark orange, really. So what I did was I took that brown, I lightened it until it was like an athletic gold or the color of a school bus.
Did I not to say that it was like mixed brown and yellow, like
Right? What was it? Was it like, so it was like a school bus sort of a color?
Yeah, but
like
maybe
an orangish
a little
yellowish
more brown in it. Just a smidge more brown, like one drop more brown. Anyway, just saying, I remember that plain as day, clear as day. But it wasn't just it. And then some people were saying like Vanessa VA had an extra one less N in her name.
Yeah.
Yep, that's so strange because there's a lot of Mandela effect presenters on YouTube that said have Mandela effects with their YouTube name or logo. That's interesting.
Yeah, and just to be clear with everybody and reiterate what I was saying about the and sign, I never published it. I never used it publicly. I only had it on my own computer. So, no, it's not in any of my old videos or anything like that. It was just strictly on my computer. I didn't like it. I took it back off. That's why I wish I still had the old file, because I'm the type of person that I didn't delete it. I just probably hit the little eyeball and turned it off. So if I could find that original file, I could go and find that little and sign and prove it to you guys. But that was on a computer.
But it was turkey turd tan.
It was athletic gold. I don't know. Maybe that's a whole
Athletic
different
gold.
time. Athletic gold. Yeah.
Did
So like
you
when
make
you
that up?
no,
Athletic gold.
No, it's like I don't know, like the Rams, for instance.
No,
they
I
went from
understand. I was
okay.
just messing with you.
It's like emoji colored. Well, not these emojis. They're kind of yellow.
Yeah. But I know what we can discuss if you want, while we're waiting for someone to call, is theories.
Actually,
that's...
Series, you said?
Theories.
Theories.
Theories of the cause of...
Actually, we have a caller calling in that can join us right now.
Great.
Let's bring them into the conversation. You are live on the air. Who's joining us?
I don't know if I connected or not, but this is Travis.
What's up, Travis? Yeah, you're in here, man.
Okay, cool. Good. Hi.
Did you see the movie?
No, I
Travis
didn't
in
see the
Love
movie.
Land.
Oh, okay.
That's right. That's a complicated process to get through all the numbers. I didn't think I could do it from my phone, but it worked.
Yeah, that's why I
Yeah.
tell people if it's too much, just go to the. It's easier just go to the website. Joining that way.
So,
I wish it was
Travis, I
easier,
miss
but it's
you.
free. Yeah, it's good to talk to you.
I miss you too, Sherry. It's good to hear you guys' voices.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you saw it? What do you have?
Are you gonna see it?
No, I
No.
didn't see the movie. I didn't. I'd like
Oh.
to see it. This is actually the first time I'm hearing about it, I think. So,
Really?
Oh, wow.
yeah,
What was
I'll
your-
check it out.
What was your big Mandela effect, though?
Well, that was kind of what inspired me to call in because it was pretty funny to me. It's the Depends diapers for adults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was always Depends to me, and when they changed it, I wondered if it was a marketing thing. Why would they drop the S? There was
Yeah.
a lot of products in the stores that I wondered, why are they changing this? So for years I saw those things, and it wasn't until people were discussing it on the internet that I realized, this goes back in the past too, and that was very bizarre to me.
Yeah, I saw a number of them as well, and it wasn't until I heard about the Mandela effect that I realized that they apparently never existed the way I originally knew they did. Like Depends was, you can look up the company history, it's always been Depend,
What's funny and
Yeah.
makes me wonder is what made that those Depends really stand out to you, Travis. I could see if like me, I've worked on a hospice case or whatever, and I'm always buying them or picking them up or whatever.
Right.
But it's just funny that it was jumping out at you all along to where you would have noticed it like that,
Yeah.
Well, the reason why is because I was a teenager when those became big, and it was this big inside joke, making fun of the diapers and
Oh, I see.
you go to the grocery store and you toss it in someone else's cart or something. So we were
Right.
just had a juvenile sense of humor, so that's why.
Right.
Yeah, and there was even a joke. There was the joke about Depends where that was the punchline. Depends. It depends, but that joke now wouldn't make sense because you'd say depends.
Are these diapers gonna work? I don't know. It depends.
Right.
Yes,
Exactly.
exactly. That's awesome.
But
Oh,
Shane, I
wow.
love how you guys are discussing the purpose and the interconnectivity behind these different things, and I feel like if they continue accelerating along with the shift, it's like a way of sort of dissolving a veil so that we see what things actually are, and it I get kind of the sense of this sheet that's burning through these holes, and we get to see what's been operating behind the scenes. So I'm wondering kind of about how you all are seeing the letters connecting and the different syllables, and you said Ra was in there, Sherry.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's incantations or there's the spell casting of language, if somehow the Mandela effect is revealing the energy behind what is coming, what we're seeing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, especially with with numbers and letters and coding and everything like that, and just the fact spelling has spell in it, cursive, curse. That
Right,
makes total sense. Yeah, there's got. Now I've always said there's got to be some kind of a, code or something being revealed in these Mandela effects. That the letters, and that my daughter, that she's just an expert on that. She notices every single letter that's extended any or merged. And a big one, just to give someone an example though, is the Tonka truck. The T is all the way connected to the K now on Tonka, the logo.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild.
It's interesting.
But anybody who watches anything like Truth Theory C3, where they get into all this, what the words are saying, the connection with, the connection of the money being connected with the ocean and just, I don't know, just all these.
like a bank or a river bank.
Right, exactly.
And
Yeah.
Currency.
Right. It's a lot
currency,
connected into
yeah.
the currency. Yeah.
Yeah.
The money system and just the use of spells, really. Our language is,
Right.
you know, a strong way to create into beingness through the consciousness, right?
Yeah.
Right. Just like in the beginning, there was the word.
Yeah.
And the word made flesh.
Yeah. And lifting the veil is another one that gets into that a lot. But I was trying to think of, there was an example. I'll let you guys talk because it just slipped my mind what it was.
Oh no,
my voice is
really
getting
think
kind
there's
of
something.
raspy.
Me too.
I
think there's something to what
I wanted
you're saying.
to like.
Go ahead.
I'm not sure if you guys have like a strict theme with what you're talking about on the show this time, but I wanted to kind of ask if you all have felt anything specific in the last like 48 hours with the energy changing, the 1212, or what about during the meditation that we did as a group midday?
Yeah, I felt more connected myself, but that's funny you mentioned that because Lauren Hansen had sent me a text and she was like, "Have you felt anything?" And I'm like, well, I don't know. I was doing, I was kind of getting away from electronics and doing meditation, and I felt more connected, but I can't really say it wasn't due to that. So I don't know. What about you, Sherry?
I've had like a lot of tingling everywhere. Like, I don't know. It seems like it could be like kind of, kind of kundalini like stuff, and like my ears have been ringing, and it feels like there's part of if I was an orb and I was inside my head and I was like coming out a little bit, it feels like that. Like there's something kind of popped out a little bit. I don't know how to explain it. How about you?
Yeah, has it been positive or negative feeling for you, Travis?
Oh, very, very positive.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say intense at times. I sometimes go like so deep into these different portals that come up that describe what's changing, but I can sense that there's like new territory of expansion and a sense that like the body is housing this like universal flow in a more powerful way.
Yeah.
I've had a few really deep meditations just in the past, I guess, 48 hours, and I just don't know how to describe that. I wish we had the language for it,
Yeah, it is beyond language, isn't it? And I don't know how everybody else experienced that meditation we did the other night together that I announced, but I just went into, it was sort of this, I want to say void, but I don't want it to sound like it's a negative thing, just a place of just in between, like a peace, and like I reached this place, I don't know, maybe samadhi might be a good word for it, but it's sort of like a thoughtless resting place during that meditation that was very deep and trance-like. What did you guys experience?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, good.
Well, as you're saying that, what comes with that sort of intelligence for me is like this euphoric feeling in the body. But
I was just going to say that, euphoria.
Yeah.
Yeah, the body dissolves, though. It's like when I'm in meditation, you can get to a point sometimes where it's no longer a body experiencing the unified field. Like it just is the unified field, and it's apparent how like consciousness is reflecting itself onto absolutely everything as to like give you the feedback of your reality in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with the 1212 that this has, I guess, if I can put language on it, that's what's come through really strongly for me. And also, Shane, I sent you those little emojis for like 1212 and 2020, and and the candle for 1212, and so and then for 2020 it was the receiving hands with like the little symbol of the universe. And so what was coming to me around that is like the 1212 is us like joining in this sort of collective moment that is a prayer. It's like holding a flame, and it's like holding the wish, the vision for the manifestation, the new earth that we want to like create into beingness. And then I feel that the 2020 is the receiving of that. Like we're receiving, it's like this one act of receiving and creation with a time delay, but we're manifesting it. We're doing that.
Oh,
That's
I just looked at it.
That's beautiful.
I just looked at that text, and it reminded me that it came through at 10:10 with all your 2020s. It came through at 10:10 local time.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
I think
really
it's
neat.
interesting what you're saying because, they talk about like it takes like emotions and words and all to create. I was just wondering, with your meditations, have you ever? I don't know if you've ever heard when I talked about this. It was kind of a long time ago, but like I'll see this blue, like translucent grid everywhere. I see it like in my house.
Was it like in the
my
movie?
mom's house.
Like in the Mandela Effect movie where it's sort of, they did that blending where they showed like a grid over everything? Is it like that?
I didn't notice that.
Oh, you didn't?
I must have missed that part. Well, this is like a blue gridding that's like just everywhere. But when I see it, it's like a flash. Okay, peripheral vision, how you'll see something and then it goes away.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see like, part of the grid like up in this corner, or maybe a few poles with a couple crossbars kind of like in my kitchen. I just like I'll see it. And well, I don't know, something triggered when he was talking about, when he was saying what he was saying, that it has in it like, I don't know, I can't even describe it, how I can feel it. I can't really say it. Have you seen it?
Well, Sherry, is the grid that you're describing, is it like graph paper, like that kind of grid, or is it geometry that's different? Or
it would be like 3D. Yeah. Like
Panda Rhythmatic Panda saying, I see the blue grid. I understand you.
Oh, thank God.
So it's like overlaid on the walls and stuff, right, Sherry? You're saying it would be overlaid on what you're already seeing there. Like if you're looking at the road, will it look like it's going away to, like a road goes to a point? Will the grid do that same thing? Is it like overlaid perfectly over everything?
Yeah, but it's like what he was saying. It wouldn't be like written on the wall. It would be like if you ran across the room, you'd be walking through poles, because it's like everywhere. It's just it's a grid that's everywhere. But I don't see it all at one time. I see like a piece of it in a flash real quick.
Yeah.
Or but it's like an indigo blue translucent. And I know it seems silly, but they're, like about maybe 6 to 8 inch poles or rods or horizontal and vertical.
I was imagining fine lines. What is yours like, Rhythmatic Panda? Is it because they're saying they see it with it's a third eye thing. They're saying they think it is.
Wow. I can't wait to hear this.
So Sherry, is it like a grid with right angles and squares in it, or is it like
yes, it has. It's got angles in it and stuff. Yeah, it would be straight everywhere. There's no curving in it.
But is there any diagonal lines?
No.
So they're all perfectly vertical and okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, in what I see anyway. Yeah.
Right.
That's weird,
does it shift around you, or is it stable in the environment?
It shifts around.
Like if you were to walk in.
Go ahead.
Is there a delay with the
there is.
calling in? I feel like I keep interrupting you.
No, there's a delay. So
I feel like that all the time.
I tell her all the time it's a delay.
I'm sorry. Okay. Well,
so the problem I have.
So if you were to walk into your kitchen and you see this grid everywhere, does the grid stay consistent with the kitchen, or does it change relative to your viewpoint? Does the question make sense?
Great question.
Yeah, I know that it's staying stationary because of like where it's at, or like, okay, I don't see the whole thing. I might see like up in the corner or something of it. But if I see it again a few days later, it would be exactly the same up in that corner. So it seems to be firm and there, but it's translucent and it's blue.
But it's connected to the 3D reality.
I feel like it's full of all of the things that would like manifest matter, and I feel like memories and emotions and feelings and thoughts, but that I also feel that you could jump into it and travel through it if you wanted to, but I haven't done that or anything. I would like to.
Not yet.
Yeah. No, not yet.
Make a mad dash for it next time. See what happens.
Seen anything like that. Right?
Sherry, as you were describing that, I remember years ago I woke up and I saw this giant blue sphere. I'd say it was like 4 or 5 feet in diameter in the room. I wasn't really sure if I was awake or if I was in like a lucid dream, but within this sphere was just the most complex and interconnected and harmonious, dynamic, sacred geometry. Like just everything, and it was light coming from the middle of this shape. So and I've seen like the walls rippling and like can have had the effect of seeing through something before.
Wow.
All that visual
That's awesome.
stuff, I think it just shows us that I don't know, that like even our physical surroundings are not, real as we take it. We're only experiencing the physical world on like this limited spectrum of our senses.
Yeah.
Whereas we just haven't activated in our DNA yet.
Yeah, and
Right.
could that be why people experience exactly what you're explaining on psychedelics and stuff like that? Are they sort of widening the range of what they're able to see? Are they seeing something in the third eye? That because when you
I
talk,
think so.
because I've even had I've woke up before and seen like overlaid on my walls like grids with hieroglyphics all over it, and I'm like looking around, I'm like, what the heck am I seeing written all over my walls? It was like, but I could tell it wasn't there, but it didn't freak me out or anything, but I was amazed by it, but as I woke up more and more, it faded away and things started looking normal. But yeah, it was definitely strange.
Yeah,
Shane, were
I
you
think people are seeing a
incarnated
lot of...
in Egypt?
Say it one more time.
Were you incarnated in Egypt? Did you have a physical incarnation for that? You're connected with that ancient time?
Yeah, I believe I did.
I feel like I did too.
It actually came through in a session.
This group is connected.
It came through in a session that all of everybody in this group that's here now in the chat and everything that hang out here regularly, just part of our, why we feel the resonance with each other is because we all have a connection back to Egypt.
And I think we might have been kind of blue. Do you think you were blue?
But I also...
Wait, do you think you were blue? Or wait, me? Who? Travis or me?
Travis.
It's cracking me up. It sounds like we're all just talking at the same time.
I know. I feel like that every single time that I do this. So, and I just figure I am because I'm not good at all this, but it's fun anyway. But yeah, do you?
You guys
feel
can
like...
kick me off at any time. I just wanted to chime in and share the love. That's all.
That's awesome. Maybe we need to start saying over when we're done. Over? I'm just playing.
Yeah. Like a little.
Well, you guys, I had a BQH session where it came through that I haven't been incarnated as a human here before, but I'm still connected with Egypt somehow. But I was interfacing with the culture as consciousness or as an off-world being or something. It wasn't clarified, but I wasn't incarnated. Is that?
Yeah, that makes sense.
To you?
It sounds like, what if you were connected with the social memory complex known as Ra, which has been turned into this sun god, I know, but according to the law of one and Ra's very own words, they're more of a group consciousness. But maybe you were an individualized version of that was trying to help back then or something.
Yeah, or someone's
Maybe.
spirit guide.
Yeah.
Hey, Travis,
So
did
Ra's what
you ever
came
hear
through
my...
and influenced at that ancient
Yeah.
Egypt time, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think
What were you
that,
asking me?
So I didn't know if I had told you my UFO story. Probably so, huh? About that.
Well, give me
the reason I
a
was saying
refresher.
Okay, so I was just like in my above ground pool, and then all of a sudden it's like, what reminded me was when you said that orb that you saw that was blue was like 4.5 by 5 feet, because I had this, it was like a 4.5 by 5 feet diameter big ball like came floating down from the roof of the house, and it was like right in front of my face for like 2 whole minutes, and it was it looked like a opaque cream colored ball with a fire burning in the center with no ventilation holes or anything. And as it sat there, I was like freaking out, and I couldn't scream or nothing, and I was trying to like call my daughter or something, but I couldn't get any words out. But then all of a sudden, like she was an angel or something, she walks up from behind me with her boyfriend, so I had 2 witnesses, and she said, "Mom, I'm right behind you, and I see it too." And I was so happy. And then it, like, floated up to above the shed, which was, like, kind of if it was going further on, you know, it came down over the roof and then right in front of me, and then it continued on and went up over the shed, shot up and disappeared, like, in 1.5 seconds to a orange, like, blinked out like a little star. And what was so funny was a few months later, we were talking, all of us, and Jeremy, her boyfriend, is like, "What are you talking about? It wasn't that big." And he said he just saw, like, an orange orb, like back in the tree line. So I guess it just reminded me, because you'd said it was like 4.5 by 5 foot diameter, the blue orb thing that you'd saw. I just wanted to tell you about that.
It might be what Corey Good has talked of as like the sphere beings, and it's just a visitation. It's like a acknowledgement to the waking, you know, to the consciousness that I don't know. It's hard to like track my idea.
Well, you know what? That's funny. You said that thing about the Merkaba, that visit that you shared, because when he was saying that, it actually reminded me of the size of the blue portal that you saw Michael Jackson in your room. That's what came to my mind. But I guess it was clearly an orb, huh?
Well, that brings us right back to the Mandela effect, because you'll love this, Travis. One day, Darby wakes me up at 3 in the morning, and she's like, "Mom, come in here, come in here." And on our sinks in the bathroom was this logo that had never been there before, and it said Langzine, and it was spelled like Lanxing. And so it was brand new. It looked brand new, but the sinks are like older, and we clean them, you know, every day, so we would know if it was there. Well, I had made a little YouTube video about it, and like someone in my comment section is like, "That's not even a real brand." I've had people look it up recently, and it's not a brand. It doesn't exist. But one day I was like coming right back to waking up, and I heard a woman real happily scream, "Alien Crossing," but I could see that she was using like Alien Crossing, but it was LAN Crossing. And what's funny is that where we saw the UFO at, if you like drew a straight line and went like through the kitchen and into the bedroom, was right where the portal was where I first saw Michael Jackson. And it was all blue. Everything I saw of him was blue, like. And then also the fact that, there's one more thing about it. What was it? I can't remember. There was one other thing that like connected it to being, there was like these blue things in my yard that it would like make an orb about 3 or 4 feet off the ground, and then it would drop, and it would look like a pole for a second, and then kind of catch up and be gone. And they were all like in the same line. And so it was interesting that it said Alien Crossing or whatever.
That's totally cool. That's fun.
What you're saying here, okay, so let's talk about personal Mandela effects for a moment, because in the movie, they have one where, you know, he looks at this picture on the refrigerator and he recognizes the background. The three characters, him, his wife, and his daughter, in the picture look exactly the same, but they were at a different location. So I was glad they brought up personal Mandela effects in the movie, because people do have these. They have instances where, you know, maybe an outfit's a different color, or just little things. You know, just the memory difference. In fact, I just talked about my daughter having dual memories of ordering one dish and telling somebody about it, and they're like, no, you ordered this, and then she remembered ordering both of them. So she had a dual memory, and I think that ties in directly with the Mandela effect. Have you had anything personally that you've seen change, Travis?
Well, with just in general with the Mandela effect, or
yeah, just anything in your life that you're like, wait a minute, this was this way and now it's this way, whether it's a memory or an item or anything.
I think the strongest ones for me are the visual ones, because I have a really strong visual memory. So all of the brands and the companies and those things that have altered their logos, those all stick out to me.
Right.
I'd say that most of them that I've found have applied to me, but I also have really hazy memories too, and I don't trust it all. I do know that it's happening. That's enough for me.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I wonder if there's some sort of story that's going to play out when we see how connected they become, or if someone had mentioned in the chat earlier if possibly Project Looking Glass had altered things connected to these different people or events or things, and somehow this was playing out. Have you guys talked about that already?
Yeah, we talked about the Project Looking Glass, and just to kind of recap it for anybody that might not have heard, there was sort of, I guess, somebody that worked with Project Looking Glass, and they have this Project Looking Glass is, I guess, software where they could sort of look into probabilities of the future, and they were coming up with this problem where no matter what they did, they couldn't change the outcome beyond like 2012 or something. And this guy said that he believed it was converging of the timelines. Like no matter what choices you did, it would still all end up at this one point. And he speculated that it was the awakening. It was at some point humans were going to begin to wake up and see what's going on. And that's what I feel like it ties right into what we're seeing with this Mandela effect. And people are like waking up to realize that reality is just not what they thought it was.
Yeah, and it's so fun. I love how Travis said that, because it is fun, all these experiences. And you know, and you know, I got to bring up the fact that, like, I used to have a lot of fearful ones and stuff like that, but with Vanessa VA had came up with that graph, I always talk about it, where it shows like at one level, like, I don't want to say regular people, but I guess you'd say the unaffected, then the Mandela affected. And as you like raise up, there's this area that said horror and like a targeted individual type area. And I definitely went through that for like a year and a half, and I'm still, it's very traumatic. So I have like a lot of like little, like if my vibe goes down even an inch, I'm gonna have something like show up in my reality with it. So, but in a way that's good, because it makes me watch better. You know, like try to keep myself on track, because I know that if I dip back down at all, I'm gonna like see that. But then it like went up like, you know, several more until you were like, I guess, you know, in a 5D heaven type area or whatever. But I just know this, what it is so true, that whatever you focus on, you will get, and it will show up. And you have to really watch your thoughts. I keep telling my kids this, you know, but I need to listen myself, because if you let them wander, I mean, or with me anyway, it's just like almost instant. I'll see something.
That's what I love about Magenta Pixie, because, you know, she doesn't, you know, it isn't all about, you know, I'm right and you're wrong, that sort of thing. It's like, no, you're right from your perspective. Everyone's right from their perspective. That's why I always encourage people, like, at least consider it could be a positive thing. That's all I did, was consider it, and it really opened me up into this whole different world. I mean, okay, so if you think it's Satan doing it, for instance, I hear this a lot. People are like, this is Satan doing this. then you're going to find things that validate that point of view for yourself. You're going to continually get reinforced information that supports that idea that Satan's doing this. So if you don't want Satan to be doing this, switch your perspective. I mean, it's and it's not living a lie.
That's what I had to chose to do.
Yeah, and it's a choice that everyone can make, And I had someone that was just stumbled across my channel, Jenna, and she was like, I've been sort of freaking out about this stuff for years, and I came across your video explaining, what you think these messages in there are, and they're positive messages, and it's completely switched my perspective. Just to consider what you're saying switched her perspective. Just to hear my sort of testimony of what I've gone through totally changed her perspective on the whole thing. And that's really why I'm here doing this, because I feel like we have so much more power than we realize. And I think it's used against us so much with predictive programming, movies with catastrophes happening. And then you're like, wow, could this big earthquake really happen here? And I think they can harness our power to use it against us, because we're sort of ignorant to the fact of how much power we have to control our reality. And there's a collectiveness, there's a consensus reality that we share as well. So if you get enough people thinking negatively about the end of the world, then sure, you might bring along some kind of tsunami or whatever it is that they're sort of pushing. But, enough of us here are bringing about this new earth, and it's going to happen because it's going to hit critical mass. And it's so much more easy to move in the positive direction when you look at the law of one, because you're sort of doomed to fail if you're on the negative path. So it's like, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to wake people up to how positive it can be. Like Cynthia Sue Larson says, how good can it get?
Yeah. Travis, you still there?
Preach. No, you got it, Shane. That was awesome. I totally agree.
Did you like the
love
series
that. For me,
Magenta
it's
Pixie
all
just put out?
She's a little hard to follow for me, so
Yeah.
A lot of
I
people
kind of
say
get the
that.
gist of what she's
Me too.
saying and go quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the same way.
But I do like what she's putting out, and I read whichever book is the green one. I don't even remember.
Yeah, the one you gave
That's
me.
the
that
one
I
you
gave to
gave
Sherry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the emerald, the double helix and the emerald flame, or something like that. Sorry, Magenta, I'm jacking up the title of your book, but just so people know.
The emerald, yeah. Oops. But I enjoyed it for sure.
It's really deep, but it's exactly what you described. I get that, because I get something out of it. I think it probably has some kind of little transmission that you're getting, even if you're kind of
Totally.
I don't know what she just said. I just got a little bit of it, but I know she had mentioned the last one that she did that I'd watched. There was a lot of stuff about stuff going, I don't know, she mentioned Alice in Wonderland. I have a lot of stuff in my vibration right now with the looking glass, and Janie Lane in my purse is Alice in Wonderland right now. I love when that happens. It all just syncs up.
Over.
Over.
Yeah, but T. Taylor's saying that she loved that series, and you will be able to follow it more the more light you integrate. And I totally think that's true, because I would read her books, and I would get little parts of it, other parts I wouldn't get, but it feels like you're still getting it, and it maybe unpacks later, like in the form of a download or something.
I can feel it. I just don't grasp all of it. So
yeah.
Hey, T. Taylor.
Something that's so cool to me about all these different people who are sharing these kinds of perspectives is that I feel like ultimately we're all talking about the same thing, or we're making our way towards talking about that one same thing and vibrating at that unity consciousness. But what I've enjoyed exploring is kind of looking at just kind of everybody's point of view, and seeing you can see an expanded perspective, because we're just talking about it from all these different angles. I realize I'm saying the same thing over and over again, but
right.
It's really cool. Have you guys checked into Lisa Harrison?
I did a while back.
She has a channel called Deconstructing the Construct.
Right. She's the one that I can't even think of the name, Lulu or something like that, right? Is she still doing that?
I believe that's correct. I believe so, yes.
Okay.
And see, the way that she talks about all these sorts of awakening things is pretty far outside the box from kind of the stuff that I'm used to, but it still is, it's the same thing. And to me, the fact that that's going on gives so much validity to this whole process that we're undergoing. It really is like the representation of the one conscious, like fractalized into everybody, and we're coming home into that vibration in ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's well stated.
Yeah, that's one of the things I
Yeah,
noticed early on too, is like when you're, whether it's the Christians speaking of a rapture or the New Age community speaking of ascension, there's, the details are different, but I think we're really talking about the same thing.
Right.
Really, because science even does that. Yeah, science calls it evolution. Human evolutions, or the evolution of human consciousness. So I think it's still all the same thing we're talking about.
Definitely.
Hey, Michelle.
Yep, I always say that about, like they'll say that the rapture or whatever would happen like in the twinkling of an eye, but who's to say how long the twinkling of God's eye is,
Right.
But I agree with you. I think that even when you look across the board at all of the different religions, that like the Hopi Indian stuff and everything,
Oh, yeah.
it just all connects, and it's beautiful. It really is. It gives you reassurance, because I love the feel really drawn to the Hopi stuff. It's really cool.
Yeah, and then they have the red kachina or blue kachina and all that stuff too.
You there, Travis?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just fascinated by all of it. My mind's just kind of exploding with connections right now.
Michelle's here. She said that shout out to you, Travis.
Which Michelle? My Michelle?
Yeah.
Michelle Wolf?
You're Michelle.
I'm Michelle.
But yeah, that's sort of, I think part of I guess the way I see it is this construct we're in, deconstructing the matrix or whatever, the construct that we're in is designed to keep us separated, to keep the reality as real as possible, and to hide the fact that it's really a learning experience. It's a classroom or a game, if you will. And so... And
you know what? That's what you should talk about is like... Go ahead. Sorry.
No, but I'm just saying that if we're all talking about the same thing, but we don't realize we're talking about the same thing, then that's, once again, that separation at work that you hear about in the whole Wingmakers philosophy, the way they explain it, They want you separated by religion and politics and culture and, just worldviews.
Right.
Yeah. I was gonna say that what you said the other night, how cool that was. I don't remember when that was, about a week ago or something, about the simulation thing or whatever. If it was like that, if it was like a game, and if but there would be something in there that would like try to, like a gatekeeper, that
Yeah, because okay, so yeah, I was just saying that even if we design this ourselves, and I brought up the point that people's like, we would never make something like this and put ourselves in it and do this to ourselves or whatever, but you can totally see you could see some futuristic arcade that somebody makes, and like, look, you can go into this thing, you spend 2 hours, but you go in there and you'll feel like you were in World War II, and that you felt all the pain. You'll feel all the pain of being in the war, but you'll have that full lifetime experience of some army guy in World War II. Or you can just pick anything, though, right? So you can be a fighter pilot. You can be a king of some, these people or some country, or you can just go and pay, I don't know, $250,000 and spend 2 hours and download this whole lifetime. You're going to tell me nobody would do that? So I know people would do it if they had the money, So to say that we created this, and then you can see anywhere there's any kind of hint, just like on the Truman Show, if you guys remember, for those who haven't seen it, Truman is in this world where everybody is actors, and they're trying to keep him from realizing that he's the focus of all the attention. So there's this big scary ocean. When he tries to go out sailing, they create all these waves and everything to keep him from wanting to go further out, you know. And of course his father supposedly died in the ocean, so there's that fear. But we deal with that anytime if we go out of body. You know, that's a little hint at what's going on. So there's this whole fear thing you got to go through of the sleep paralysis. Or, you know, if you try to get too spiritual and you go into the spiritual realm, then there's the demons and stuff. There's always something, the gatekeepers, to keep you from realizing that this is all just a game. This is all a dream that we've placed ourselves in to be very convincing, to experience life. You know, you get your memories wiped when you come in here. That way you don't realize, and then everything is set up to sort of keep you in the game and keep you from exploring beyond it. But when you can get past your fear, you can begin to see through the veil. So that's sort of in a nutshell what we were discussing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Makes it like a challenge.
Yeah.
Well, and when yogis or whoever spends a lot of practice, or they just have like an auspicious birth or something, and they start to meditate and go through these veils of reality, they're experiencing and knowing and embodying more of what, you know, the truth of the matrix is, and then coming back into the body. And to me, like the mere existence of like this potential of consciousness hints that like we are the self same as the construct itself. Like it must therefore be consciousness, because that's what we find ourselves to be. And so for everything to be just like infinitely synchronized and complex in ways that we can't even fathom how it's interconnected, again, I'm just losing myself. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, you're doing great.
It's like I'm making these long sentences and then I totally forget what happened in the beginning.
No, I know. I do that all the time.
That's getting worse.
I'm sorry to all the listeners. It's awful.
It's hard, huh?
I'm sorry. I've got to make my sentences shorter for myself.
Speaking of that,
I totally feel you.
Say really quick that I've been like working a lot and having a lot going on where I have to work a lot. So for a little while, we're probably not going to be doing that show on Monday night. But I just wanted to thank everybody for, like, you know, being patient with me while I went through all this kind of stuff, like not knowing what I'm doing it and everything. And I had fun and got to meet a lot of authors that I love and all that. It was awesome. So I wanted to thank everybody for that.
And thank you for doing it and bringing so many wonderful people on and everything.
Oh, well, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah. We almost went a full year. Pretty much all of this year. So who knows? Maybe we'll have Paranormal Frequencies Part 2 at some point or something. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, I thought if somebody comes into my, you know, fear of reality that's like a really big author or something, you know, maybe I can just like, you know, email you or something and do a little interview with them or something if I find somebody good or something, you know, when things kind of slow down.
Right.
We'll see how it goes.
Excellent.
Hello. Over. No. Travis?
You know, something, I'll try to kind of bring it back since I ran off a cliff just then. One of the first things that really started to get my attention about the whole awakening was meditating. And I don't know if this is like a common thing that your listeners do, but I, you know, totally recommend just getting quiet and, you know, watching the process of consciousness itself, like within your own moment, just moment to moment observing it and not identifying with it. And that process in itself is just so transformative, and there's like 1,000 different approaches you can have to it, but like that's the goods are, you know, that's where the source is hidden, you know, within ourselves, in our own perception. And when I was in college, I was I started smoking pot by myself, which was like a new thing for me because I wanted to understand like what the drug was and what it was doing to me and my perception. But what I quickly found out was actually even more like alarming, was that I had these memories of meditating as if they like spanned lifetimes. There was something about like tapping into the, you know, the greater self that came through so strongly, even when I was, I guess, a little deep in the illusion as a starseed, you know, not too far. But that's like through all these years, like that's always what it has come back to. And, you know, sometimes in meditation, there's a lot that's available and I can go really deep. And sometimes it's just, you know, trying to be still, and it doesn't build like in a linear progression, but doing the practice, it just creates this sort of more wiggle room for your higher self to contact you and to download you and activate you. And I feel like it's so important to be meditating or some form of that. It can even be active and just in the flow of creativity somehow. I feel it's so important to do that because I think that's when our DNA is most readily able to like tune into the source flow and get these codes and activations that are coming through like one after another these days.
Yeah.
But that's my soapbox or my recommendation.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Let's see, T. Taylor saying you're doing great. It's kind of hard to think linearly with all of this energy, all these people's energy. Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, and I also wanted to chime in on, you know, okay, so T. Taylor saying you can disintegrate demons you have created very easily. It just takes awareness. And, you know, you have people that say, why would I create demons, you know? But how fun is Pac-Man without the ghost chasing you around? You know, that's what I always go back to. You know? Over.
Yeah, it's like we create the whole thing just to teach ourselves. The thing that is really striking to me, and I'm not going to be able to share any details about it, but it's coming to my mind a lot more lately. It's how like everything is encoded with numbers and things are occurring with synchronicity in the most like detailed of ways, and it's a Mandela effect where it's like quantum. And to me it goes to show that it's like if we're so on the precipice of hitting this like 100th monkey in the consciousness, and I feel like it just has to be like this cog that turns into place where all at one moment in time, like we're holding a high enough vibration like for this consciousness to like split out and like move into this bifurcation of dimensions, but we're like already pulling on it so strongly. I don't feel grounded at all anymore, and I'm doing like yoga and everything I can do, and I feel like I'm in the body but not in the body, and you know, I might be forgetting a little bit more for right now, but that's like a constant thing, just like losing my place, and the identity is changing, and you know, there's no consistent self to like refer back to. It's more just like the flow of experience in the moment, and you know, it's like meditation come alive. You can't run for it when it's coming for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Hey,
I was just gonna say, I didn't know if anybody wanted to drop out or if you want to stick around. I was gonna bring somebody else into the call. Well.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I need to get something to eat, and I'm cold. So you guys have a great night. I'm gonna keep listening, but thanks for having me on.
And I'm
just let me chime in and hang out with you.
Love you.
Yeah, love you, Travis. Thanks for chiming in with us, buddy. Hanging out.
Yeah, I love you guys. All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And Michelle
Love
says,
in Loveland.
well said, Travis. Let's see. Gonna bring 360 into the conversation. Who's joining us from Washington? Is that Washington?
It is Washington. Hello, 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 everyone. It's T. Taylor.
Hey, how's it going? I'm so glad you hopped in with us.
Yeah, sorry. It's been kind of crazy lately, as always. But no, I love what you guys were talking about tonight, and I feel like I haven't talked to you guys in so long. And I wanted to impart kind of, what Travis was kind of talking about. And I just wanted to kind of go with that for just a second as I was in the chat earlier. I did this experiment. I kind of wanted to share it with you guys if you're all okay with that.
I'd love to. Yeah.
Of course.
Okay. So I took a very linear 3D job back in July. I went back to some old cycles with a boss, and I did some billing that I knew going into it, it wasn't my path. It wasn't my passion. I had some resentments going into it because, of course, it's a financial thing that we all have to feed our children. So we have to do what we have to do. Mm-hmm. So at any rate, I went ahead and went into it. And what I found very quickly, because it ended up being a very toxic environment, once again, is that my physical symptoms are so much, and it's not just mine, it's obviously all of ours, related to those physical environments. And it goes back into, too, what Travis was saying. As we activate these, you could call them DNA strands if we go by Magenta Pixie or my work. You could just say awareness if you just go by somebody else's perception. But it's very hard to think in what we used to explain as a linear thought process. Because what you are doing is exactly what Travis was saying, is you're starting to go with the flow and the synchronicity, and you're starting to go with that intuition so much more. And so that doesn't follow a necessarily linear 3D thought process. I have this slide I use in a lot of my stuff, and it shows like a regular person telling a story, and then it shows an ADHD. And ADHD I like to use is just dialed into a higher dimension, attention dialed to a higher dimension. That's what I use for it now.
Oh, I love that.
I thought it was perfect, right?
Yeah.
For all of us. But point being, when we tell a story now, we follow where it needs to follow to get the points across that we need, and it doesn't always start with a sentence and end with a sentence of the same structure that we were taught going to school, right? It's much more abstract. So it just takes a while to kind of get your feet wet with that. So when you guys are all starting that process and you're starting to feel like, I'm trying to find the words or I lost where I was going, just know it will come back much easier. It's just going to take a little while for your feet to get wet in that process, and then it will flow much easier. But what I was saying...
I'm so glad to hear that.
Oh, yeah, it does get easier. I promise. You'll sound a little bit like silly for a while, because we all go through that phase where we're like, I know the word, I can't get to it, or I started with something and now I don't even know where I'm going. Never mind, I'll come back to it later. Maybe, maybe not, right? We've all done that a million times. But what I was saying with that experiment, too, is I went back to that linear 3D job, and what I started to notice very quickly is when you allow yourself, once you've activated or once you're in this awareness, when you've allowed yourself to kind of come down in vibratory patterns or in a vibration or a frequency, it opens yourself up to what we would see in those 3D lower vibratory patterns as far as sickness, illness, death, disease, decay. I had not been sick in almost 5 years since I had that NDE. I hadn't had a cold, a flu, I hadn't had lupus issues, any of that. And what I started to see very quickly is when I lowered my frequency, and it wasn't only my job. I started to play, I'm a gamer, so I used to play like PS4 games all the time, or games. And my son had hooked up a horror survival game for me. Now, I'm probably one of the only people back in the day that thought Silent Hill was a love story. I thought it was all about a mother's love. Well, yeah, I know, I'm not a duck. But I thought it was very interesting because the way I looked at it at that point in time, I was almost losing my son. I was going through hell to get him back. So for me, it was a reflection on the outside of a mother going to hell, literally, in that game, to get her child back. It was all about a mother's love for me, which is obviously an odd take, but that's how I looked at it. I always look at things from a higher perspective, right? But I went back to trying to play a horror survival game, and it was very religious. My son picked it out. It had high ratings, but it was just gory and religious and almost sexual in a very religious, icky way. And I found very quickly I would play it for a couple of hours. I would develop a headache, and then I would actually throw up. I continue to try and push my body to play. So my point being, I did that. I went back to a linear 3D job. I stressed myself out. I started to do a lot of 3D things. I started to watch the politics narratives again. Got involved in that for a little bit. Just kind of did some things and then I knew it halfway through, and I said, I'm just going to go with this and see what happens, because I want to experiment. I want to be able to bring this information back to my viewers on what happened. And I got sick for the first time in 5 years, and it was a complete body wham. It was not one infection, it wasn't two, it was three, but it was within less than a week. It was in less than 2 days. And it was immediate upon I knew it, I felt it gut-wise. I said, if I continue to sit here and try and play this, if I continue to try and engage in these lower vibratory patterns, this is going to be a problem, but I kind of want to just push it and see what happens, because I'm a Taurus. And I did. Total system, and I did. That's why nobody's heard from me for 2 weeks, because I ended up on antibiotics, which I hate. But it was total system collapse. And so I just kind of wanted to go on and bring that to you guys. So you don't have to hopefully experience what I did. Don't push yourself in those areas, and just really factor that into your thought process, that if you stay in those bliss moments, if you stay grateful, if you do all those things that we talk about as a community all the time, and you stay high, we won't have the illness, death, disease, decay, and all these other things that we have. But when we allow ourselves to get triggered and go to these lower vibratory patterns, you really do open yourself up to all of this stuff, whether that's maybe, what do you want to call it, frequency weapons as well, and some of these lower 3D things that you hear all the time from other people. I think it's very telling that you really do allow yourself to get hit very hard in those areas. And what changed my shit, excuse my language, as soon as I went back to doing what I do best, talking to my people, getting back in my community, doing what I know my path is, making videos again and reaching out to people and being in service to others, it was gone immediately almost. Like my doctor's like, I don't even know what to say. Yeah.
Are you still here, Sherry? I think we might have lost Sherry. But if she was here,
Hello?
I'm sure she would chime in with the fact that she dealt with the same thing with her health. Like, as soon as she sort of moved into this higher, perspective of looking at things, her health began to get better. I think Lauren Canal-Pavelka can attest to the same thing, that shifting your perspective really does your 3D vessel, your body, good, because when you're sitting there worried all the time and you get caught up in all the distractions with politics and all the stuff going on out there, and you're getting triggered all the time, it's just not good for you health-wise, you know what I mean?
No, it's not. And I knew that because I'd already kind of gone through that in a very big way when I started my NDE. And I think, going into this 12-21 solstice, we had the 12-12 portal, of course. It started with the 11-11 portal, and we went to the 12-12 portal. But this solstice is probably going to be the second biggest energetic hit we're going to get all year. Yeah. And so expect that. I call that a light. People call them colds or flus. I call them light downloads sometimes versus that. We get these upgrades with light sometimes. And it's all about trying to get your physical vessel ready to integrate this higher photonic light. And it's going to do that any way it has to. I tell people, too, this light is hitting everything on the planet. So those people who thought maybe you want to talk the reptilians or, some of these other beings, interdimensional beings would get away by being in caves or underground. It doesn't matter where you're at. No. That's what they were trying to say years ago, right, to all of us that could hear the message. It doesn't matter where you try and hide. You're still going to get hit with this higher photonic light. And so it's going to reflect everything that's within you. So those of us that don't have those dark corners are going to shine much brighter. Mm-hmm. Those of us that have some of those dark corners probably aren't going to shine quite as much until we deal with some of those issues. But if we allow ourselves, like we were just discussing, to kind of delve into those 3D energies, which are, frustration, stress, anger, greed, manipulations, deceit, all that crap. Yeah. If we allow ourselves to linger there, and we've already been activated, that's going to be very toxic to your energetic body. So I would just say, take my example, take all these other people's examples that you just named, and don't go back there. Please don't go back there, so you can still might hear a cough still lingering. If you don't have to. Yeah, you just don't want to do that, and I'm hoping that some of us have paved the way. So you guys go, all right, I heard that. I don't want to do that. Let's just avoid that at all costs.
That's a great message, because there's people that's dealing with all sorts of health issues, and you might not get a spontaneous healing, but you'll definitely see an improvement if you observe what's going on, or, even if you know something's going to trigger you, say with politics, just don't look at it. It's going to be what it's going to be, whether you're looking at it or not, right? So just don't look at it if you find yourself being angry listening to stuff, because even now I find even if I take an unbiased, non-political look at stuff, just to hear people sometimes argue about things, I can get triggered by it. I'll just turn it off, But at the same time, people are sitting and listening to that all day long, and they're unhealthy, and they don't realize that, hey, if I just went and did something more positive, artwork, just getting out in nature and enjoying nature and the weather or whatever, you would see a huge noticeable difference in your health.
Immediate. And don't forget to talk to yourself. I went back to doing what I did at the very beginning when I came out of my NDE and I was very sick, and I said, let's start and go back to basics, because where did I go so terribly wrong here? But I knew when I did it that I was doing it. I kind of pushed it for a reason, just to see what would happen. I kind of wanted to prove a point to the people that I love in my physical environment that what I was saying wasn't crap, because we've talked about this several times. So it was a really good eye-opener for them as well, because they were like, you're right, you haven't been sick in this long, and you're right, everything you said matches up. But as long as you start talking to yourselves, because they're able to be programmed. Mm-hmm. I just started going back to basics and saying, I am 100% healthy. Within 24 hours, I was off of those antibiotics, a week before I was supposed to be. Yeah. My doctor's like, you're not supposed to quit that early. And I'm like, I know, but I'm not going to continue taking some crap that I don't need at the same time. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I've been fine. But it's just one of those things. You have to really set your intention. And it's like picking a song. I know I keep saying that over and over again, and so do you, and so do so many other people. But I just want to really hit it home. It's so important right now. Because these energies with the 12/21 solstice, I said on my Facebook today, it's like the 11/11 portal widened the door. It was already open, right? We all know that. It widened the door, but the 12/21 solstice is going to blow it off its hinges. So just expect it's the end of a cycle too. So in 2019, we're ending out, and that was a big year of upheaval. It was addressing a lot of things, like in that shadow core that we are having lit up as more light hits that maybe we thought we'd left in the past. We had to address those things. It was uncomfortable. But as we go into 2020, it's just going to be wrapping up those loose ends. I use a slide all the time. Two people looking at a number, one sees a 6, one sees a 9. Who's right? They both are from their perspective. So we have to just forgive, move on, and we realize that in the act of forgiveness, we're stopping that power from the person that wronged us in the first place. We're not saying what you did was okay, but we're saying you're not going to hold power over me in this moment anymore, right? And so we just have to move on, because 2020 is all about this giant momentum forward. For those of us that are activated and aware, it's going to be a year of giant change. But for those people wanting to stay in those lower 3D energies, I do believe there's going to be a lot of sickness, illness, death, disease, decay, exit routes, you could say, and just a coming to, some would say, coming to Jesus moment, that really having to look yourself in the mirror and saying, do I like what I see, or is this not acceptable? Because it's, how do I say this? I don't like to use this word, but I get it a lot. It's almost like being terraformed, don't get triggered, anybody, or just being conditioned to accepting these higher frequencies in a nicest possible way. There is this trying to do it so that it's just gently reminding you and giving you the option. Do you want to push it? Do you want to not? Do you want to stay in those 3D vibrations? Do you not? And it's giving you the option. But for those people who really are saying, yes, I want to stay in those vibrations, I have a feeling it's going to be a tough year.
Yeah, and I'm glad you bring that up, because not only will you experience benefits to your health when you shift your perspective, you begin to integrate these changes to our DNA and all of this much easier than with staying in those lower things. So really, you speed the whole process up. You'll get the benefits of being healthier, feeling better, and you'll be integrating these new upgrades we're getting at the same time, getting more downloads, more knowledge. You keep that forward momentum going.
Yeah, and you'll feel happier. You'll just be in a better state of mind, because I noticed very quickly when I allowed myself to get triggered like that, and it's a lot about your reaction to things. You know, the scale is so much more intense than it used to be. If we used to get triggered, it was like a 0 to 5 scale, 5 being the highest. Now it's like 0 to 50, right? People are just out of their mind when they get triggered, because it's just such a more intensive scale. And so now it's just trying to find that balance. But if you allow yourself to get triggered all the time, and like you said, stay in those lower vibratory patterns, you just really are opening up your energetic body. Because really what we're going to find out in the future is that our physical body has everything to do with our energetic body. So when we're in those energetic spaces, like I hadn't had knee pain with my lupus for 5 years. I was back at work 2 weeks in a toxic environment, and things started to hit the fan, and I'm like, oh my God, I have knee pain for the first time in like 5 years. Holy crap. I got a migraine for 5 days, which I never had. Just weird stuff like that. And I knew in my gut, this is not where I should be. I knew in my heart that was not where I should be, that it was, you know, a toxic situation. I should have got out earlier. But my point is, you know, if we allow ourselves to just not follow that intuition, it's going to get harder and harder and harder. It's going to feel more claustrophobic and just not good in multiple ways.
You know, that's so funny, because I don't know how many times I was like, I just want to go back to work and just get my paycheck and just things, you know, on one level, it just seems like it'd be so much easier than just trusting income's going to come in, you know, and just like, it would just be easier just to go and do the grind again and all this. But Pretty Penny in the chat is saying, I don't want to stay, but sometimes I wonder if I'm stuck. Now, that perspective, and I want to tell you this because I was there myself, when you're in that perspective of feeling stuck, it only snowballs into feeling like you're on this prison planet. That's why people that believe that, I'm like, yeah, you're on this prison planet because that's your perspective. But as soon as you realize that this is a game, we're here for learning, we are here for some reason, and you sort of get out of that mentality of waiting for some future date for something to happen and be in the moment of creating in the now, the you know, infinite moment of now is the way I like to think of it. Instead of looking to the future, you can tap into that right now, and you're not looking to the future. And as soon as you can switch your perspective from being a victim, because that's victim mentality if you're feeling stuck or trapped or on a prison planet. If you can move out of that and into the game, that's why I'm a gamer, so it works for me. I like to be in the gaming mode. So you're playing the game well, and that puts you in as a player, a key player, where you're in control and you can win. There is a way to win. And when you can move out of that,
try a different strategy, right?
Yeah, make it fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I'm a gamer too, so I completely get you. And I do that often in my gaming. It's all about sometimes finding that different strategy that maybe you didn't look at before. But you're absolutely right. When we keep ourselves bound in these thoughts, and a lot of people did feel stuck in 2019. I did too for a few months. Somebody just released a really good video about that. I'll see if I can find it and put it in the comment section as well. But they said 2019 was a year for a lot of people for that, quote, spiritual death. And that is sometimes where we get really into the spiritual stuff, and we believe everything we hear. And then all of a sudden we get to a point where we're like, rah, and we're pulling our hair out because we're like, everybody's contradicting themselves. And what am I supposed to believe? And I've been plugging into this, and nothing in my life seems, let's say seems, air quotes, like it has changed. But it has in very significant ways. It's just hard to see those outlasting ripple effects. But as long as, like you said, you keep telling yourself that you are stuck, you will remain stuck. You have to actually say to yourself the intention where you want to be and see it as already happened. And it's like a fake it till you make it situation is what I tell people. Say, I'm already wealthy, or I already have enough finances to help others is kind of how I set my intention. And then weirdly, by month to the month, I just end up making it work. You know what I mean? And like you were saying, maybe I should go back to that 3D job. I thought the exact same thing. And I'll take it one step further. I was getting a lot of pressure from the people that I love. Maybe I was bringing in money, but they didn't give any credence to my channel or my Ormus or anything that I was doing on that level. And they were like, well, you're bringing in money, but it's not what we would call regular money. Right? It's not what we would call expected money. Like you said, you can expect it every month. Thank you. Exactly. And as much as I loved that feeling of that money, knowing it was going to be there, the price was too high. Yeah. It was just too high. I was told I could never have a sick day. I could never leave work if one of my children had an emergency. And I'm like, that's just not A, legal, B, and that's toxic, second of all, and it doesn't feed my soul, third of all. But it's each person has to make that decision. And somebody had asked me on a live stream the other day, they had said, I just need facts. And I would say to everybody, if you're looking for just facts, you're not going to find it. It's going to be very hard in this overlay 5D crystalline grid that's being it's already stable, as Todd said. I maybe misspoke earlier. I said it wasn't stable. It is stable. It is in place. It's just not fully formed. And we have to realize that us as starseeds, and Magenta Pixie really hits on this too, we are developing that new 5D Earth right now with our consciousness, our thought process. That's why we're seeing so many kids come forth with these amazing inventions. That's why we're seeing so many very positive changes in ways. But if we're looking for the negative, we'll just see the negative. And then there's a quote, I think it's, if you always look for the bad things, you'll always find them. But if you look for the beautiful, you will eventually become it.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah, so
I won't keep you, though. Yeah,
Pretty Penny said something that tied in with what you said earlier about, she says, I am in control. You said I am healthy. And what really shifted my whole thing out of this whole just victim mentality that I was in, and feeling impatient and just wanting to get out of here. It's like, why am I here? I want to go, and then you find out you're a starseed. You're like, well, I just want to go back to wherever the heck I'm from, because this just doesn't feel like home. And you have all these feelings. Right. You just feel stuck, But what helped me move out of that is the whole I am discourse that I did. I've got a playlist that you can listen to, or you can just go find the Saint Germain I am discourse. But realizing that the I am statement is so powerful, because how many times are we like, I am broke, I am sick, and we're using it in the opposite way than what we could be using it. I'm in control, I'm healthy, I'm provided for, and I'm protected, and all of those wonderful things that keeps your state of mind and state of being more in alignment with the great I am, if you will.
Absolutely. And it's so indoctrinated in just second nature, because we have just been, those of us that are older especially, have just been brainwashed for so much of our life that it's just so instinctual. And especially, like you said, when you already are in one of those kind of lower vibratory patterns and you already feel stuck. And I would use a quote, too, I use all the time, too, is that just if you think you're stuck, remember this. An arrow only shoots forward by pulling back, staying stationary first for a moment, right? But then it shoots forward at great capacity and great leaps and bounds. So just because you think that maybe you're not getting anywhere, nothing is ever completely stagnant. You're still learning something. There's a reason you're in that space. And when you are ready, you will go forward. It's up to you. But, you have to be very careful, and you have to just be very intention-wise. Like you're saying, I love that idea with the playlist. I think it's so important that you have to also keep practicing and setting your intentions daily. The first thing I do when I roll out of bed, I used to think about all the bills I have to pay, all the responsibilities, all the crap, you know what I mean? I don't do that anymore. The first thing I do is tell myself, this is going to be an amazing day, expect miracles.
Yeah.
And the most amazing things happen. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like back to Cynthia C. Larson's quote about how good can it get, and having that optimistic outlook for everything. So I know you have to go, but before you do, did you see the Mandela Effect movie?
Sure. I didn't yet. I've been completely, for those that don't know, I should probably touch on this really quick too. My son had got very ill, and so he's been in and out of the hospital for the last couple of months. That's another reason I had stepped away from my YouTube. He's doing much, much better. I kind of installed a prayer chain, which has me working on a totally different thing for our community. Many of you came forward with your positive thoughts for him, and it made all the difference, because it sure wasn't the medication, because we didn't have any on board yet, and it wasn't the doctors, because they hadn't done anything yet, and the only thing I had done in those moments was reach out to you guys, and then you guys had created a chain, and then reached out and done all of this amazing positive energy, and he got so much better. He still has some issues. We have some procedures coming up, but I just wanted to say thank you, because a lot of people in your community also came forward. But I haven't seen the Mandela Effect movie. I haven't got the book yet. I'm so excited, though. Tell me how to do that, and everybody else, if they haven't seen it.
Yeah, you can actually, it's video on demand, or you can find a theater. You can Google it and find a theater if you want to go and watch it at a theater somewhere. But I'm a video on demand, watch it at home type person. So I know it's available on Amazon. I'm not sure about other locations. I found it there, and I just went with that. But I do know you can go to Amazon, type in The Mandela Effect, and find the movie there and watch it. I think it's brand new. It's a new release, so it's like $6 or $7 or something to rent it for 48 hours, or you can buy it for like 10 or 11 or something.
I'll buy it. And then you had released a book I haven't got a chance to read yet either. How do I get that as well? So, and also for everybody else that doesn't know that.
Well, I do have that link below, but if you follow my directions for the movie, our book actually comes up too, and I don't think it's any accident that worked out that way, because we put our book out, then the movie comes out. You type in The Mandela Effect on Amazon, and there you'll find our book, The Mandela Effect, Friend or Foe, or The Mandela Effect Movie.
Perfect. Thank you so much, because I saw you guys had done that, and I haven't got to it yet, so I'm so excited to do that. Thank you so much again for everything you do. I don't want to keep you hung up in case somebody else wants to chat, but I just wanted to say, yeah, don't do what I did, everybody. It was kind of an experiment just to kind of, honestly, I'm a Taurus. I have big horns, and like I said, it's hard to get a bull to move. But when you kind of irritate us, guess what? We're going to charge at some people. And as much as I love the people in my physical surroundings, it's been very difficult for them to accept my journey or my path. And so I kind of thought, if I do this and I plug into what they think is a proper, quote, air quotes, 3D life, and let's see what happens. And each of them came to their own conclusion watching me go through that there are certain things that aren't worth it. And sometimes money is not everything. Sometimes you have to do what you're going to do that makes you healthy at the same time, because how many people are carrying 2 and 3 jobs and dying in the process? I mean, my guy works like 16 hours a day, and he's literally going to die if he doesn't find something else that feeds his soul in a different way, because his body just can't keep up with that, and it's not feeding his soul. But there are so many, is my point. And so just take my advice. Don't lower yourself. Keep yourself in those high vibrations, and if you stay in those high vibrations and you keep programming your cells, that health will come around if you've had some issues. So I'll just leave out with that. I love you, each and every one of you. Thanks for having me on, Shane. I've missed you guys so much.
Love you, Tony. Have a good one. Thanks for calling.
Okay, you too. All right, bye-bye.
Perfect. Yeah, okay, so that's right, and I totally get where she's coming from. It's hard, like, you got the big red button there. Don't push the button, and I don't know, the experimenter in me would probably push it too. But actually, it was Christmas it was exactly, let's see, 2 years ago that I was still doing the channel, of course, but on the side I tried to get back into doing my freelance art. I was putting out all of these for those of you that don't know, if you do art or you do animation and you do these types of things, you can get on, at the time it was a website called Elance that I would work on, and then they got bought out by another company. But I got on there. You can find little jobs on there where people are, they might say, hey, I need a logo, I'm willing to pay $50, and then you've got to compete with other people to get their business. And then of course they check your track record, they look at your previous work and things like that. But I put out all of these proposals to get jobs, and it was just, and I even did them way cheaper too. I say, hey, I'll do it for 30, or do it way under whatever their budget was. And basically just trying to, because I figured at least I'll be working and doing something, and nothing. I mean, it was like the universe was like, no, you're supposed to be doing this, just trust. And everything worked out. But when you've got other people in your life that's like, why aren't you doing anything? Christmas is coming, and and you can just get worn down, and it gets tough sometimes, and you're like, well, yeah, you're right, and I should try something different. But I tried that route and nothing worked out. And so really I've been shown already. So I tried to push the button didn't do anything for me though, T. Taylor. But I was ready to just throw in the towel, or not even throw in the towel. I was going to try to do both still, just maybe do less on the channel. But you know how that goes. It's hard when you're working a job to pull away and do other things, because whenever you're doing any sort of working for yourself type thing, it's not like an hourly thing where you can just go from 9 to 5 and then come home and call it quits. Not that you're not tired anyway, and not really feel like trying to make a video after a long day of work, but in the freelance business, you know, the quicker you get something done, the more money you're going to make per hour, and then the quicker you get back into something else, the more steadily the money keeps coming in. So there's not a lot of time to do videos. So I already know that I just wouldn't have been doing much if I had started picking up work. But I tried, you know, and I was putting out all these proposals and nothing came through. I was really surprised because typically you can drop the price and underbid everybody, and especially if you have previous stuff to show them, a portfolio of your work, and they know, you know, you've got a good rating, a 5-star rating on there. They know that, you know, that they don't really have anything to worry about. And with those online freelance websites, they actually have an escrow, so they put the money into the escrow account and you don't get paid until they say it's done. So it sort of takes the, you know, fear out of them just getting ripped off or whatever. It's actually a pretty good system, but you know, everyone's protected in the process. But at the same time, I could tell that there was, you know, something saying, no, you need to be doing what you're doing. And sometimes it's rough. Sometimes we can get that outside pressure from family members and friends and things like that to, you know, that come along to try to knock us off course. But I can honestly say, you know, I'm much happier now than, you know, even back when I was working 2 jobs and I had plenty of money and to do, I didn't have much time, but plenty of money. Bills were all caught up. Everything was current. We were able to spend money on the weekends and do things. And, you know, I'm much happier now. So money isn't everything. Definitely. All right, so I'm going to round this one out. Check out the movie, you guys. If you haven't, it's definitely worth watching. And if you do watch it on Amazon, if you would put this comment was helpful. I left a comment under it where I talk about the book actually covering more perspectives on what might be happening. And I think we can let this movie work in our favor to be another tool to help awaken people to the fact that reality is not what we think it is, and, you know, help other people go back to the drawing board and question everything. So lots of love and light to each and every one of you. Lots of love, light, and unity, I like to say. I'm going to be back tomorrow night with Eileen, of course, for the Power of 8 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 Central. And we'll see you tomorrow night. Have a good one. If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.